Okay, it seems to be functioning now. Right. So it will take some time for those folks to get on, but yeah. Right. So of course, I think there's basically well, okay, the main story. But before I get to that, so today is the 9th of January. We have recorded just 2 murders so far for the year, as opposed to the same time last year. We were on 18 murders for the year. So a significant drop, and no doubt the state of emergency um, would be responsible for that. In the main, police, based on reports we've been getting, indicates that there has also been a drop in other types of serious crimes for the year, which is a good thing because everybody's talking about feeling unsafe, we anything. Folks on YouTube, apologies, I don't know what was happening before, so I would have been telling you guys good morning, and unfortunately, you weren't seeing me, right? So as you all come in now, I had to restart the live on YouTube, right? Because I had some issues just now. So forgive me if I don't call out the people the names, but I did that earlier on, and I thought you all were hearing, right? So I'm making the point: 2 murders for the year so far, and I know there are a lot of people anti-PNM, anti-government, who are not too pleased. And it's amazing, huh? All the time you're complaining about the state of crime in the country, and government need to do something, and Hines must go, and Rowley had to fire Hines, and all of that. And now we are seeing the results, or at least for the first 9 days of the year, and people upset because there are those who, despite the fact they complain about the high murder rate last year, find there should have been more murders this year because it's an election year and we need the government to continue to look bad. That making any sense to you? That is the low regard in which you hold human life? Party before country? You so intent on Kamala Prasad Bisasa getting back into office that you want to see people get killed. You want to see high crime statistics so that your party can get back into power. So that when they complain about the crime and the concern and they're not feeling safe and they want to leave and wish they could have leave, well, you're rubbish. You're nonsense. Right? You should be singing the praises of the police. So I saw the news last night. I saw one of DCP Benjamin was saying that after the SOE is over, that they would the police service would take lessons from their SOE operations as to how they will operate going forward. Now, for me, I mean, if you're telling me that there are certain things that you would be able to continue with after the SOE is over, then it begs the question, why didn't you do it before? Okay, because you're seeing results now, and I don't want to think that it is because you now have the SOE has given you the leeway to kick in doors as you please, that is the only reason why we are seeing the results, because we hear about 2,000 and something raids were conducted, and I'm sure not all of those raids involved kicking down people's doors. In fact, I have a friend whose husband is a soldier, and she was telling me, he has been working every day, and they kick down a lot of doors, right? And he's a big guy, So when he put hands on you, you know what time it is, right? And I'm sure there are a lot more like him in the army, and they seem to be enjoying what they're doing, right? And so far we've heard no complaints about any abuse of this facility, if we want to call it that. We've not seen people coming on the media to say they're innocent and they're not doing nothing, and the police and army just come and kick down the door just so. We are seeing high-powered guns being retrieved, ammunition being retrieved, persons being arrested. In fact, persons, even though they are released from police custody, are under house arrest. As I heard one of the officers saying last night, one of the gentlemen who was who was ambushed outside of Besson Street, and he was taken in for questioning and so on. Notwithstanding the fact that he has been released, he is under house arrest, right? So we seem to be getting the, well, it's early days yet, but I think 2-9 versus 18-9 is very good. But you would think that the media would at least talk about that and, bring these statistics to the awareness of the people. But they're not doing that because the focus is on creating couture and bacchanal in the PNM, right? That's the focus. So it's as if SOE take a back seat. Yeah, we forget that there's an SOE on, and of course, it's easy for some people to forget because the government made the decision not to have a curfew, so persons' lives are not inconvenienced. So you don't have to make sure that you get home by a certain time, right? You don't have to be concerned that you can't work the late shift, or the businesses, the manufacturing sector can't run the graveyard shift because people had to get to work and people had to go home and all them kind of thing. To working 2 to 10 o'clock in the night, you can't be outside. So we don't have that problem this time. And all who were saying it wouldn't work, and the SOE wouldn't work, and nothing is going to come out of it because we're not dealing with the root causes of crime. What's the root causes of crime? They want to tell you what it is. It's because of poverty, and they have social ills and people struggling. As Mr. Bachelor would have told us the other day, that he is of the view that poverty is what is causing crime. And he gave me the example of his friend who applied for a job and didn't get it because of where he lives. But he didn't turn to a life of crime. And there are many people, some of you are listening here, who know people who are poor and have not resorted to turning to a life of crime. So that is a very poor excuse, because I make the point. A lot of these guys who are involved in crime, right, when we see, based on the video that Christmas List had put out, with a young man who looks like he's probably in his early mid 20s, rocking two pieces of jewelry. One, he said, cost $90,000, and the other one $50,000. $140,000. Not saying that he's involved in crime, but I'm saying people who making 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a month, not rocking $140,000 and $150,000 in jewelry. And at that time of the day that Christmas List was able to interview him, one wonders what type of work he's doing to be able to afford that at that age. And he's contending they're just, doing their thing and legitimately, and the police harassing them. Well, I would want to know what legitimate work you could be doing at that age, that you are available at that hour of the day, to be able to afford that, because it tells me if you could afford that, it means you have other things. I don't think you spend all your money on jewelry, right? You just come into a windfall of $150,000 and you decide you want to blow it on two pieces of jewelry. So obviously you have other money. And as you said, they're just doing their thing honestly, and the police are harassing them, which means that this is ongoing money. So when you want to tell me about crime, is that poverty is the reason for crime. Petty things, yes. If you tell me somebody went in the grocery and they pick up something, I could, shoplifting, a mother goes to the grocery, she pick up some milk, bread, something like that, cheese. That, I could, yeah, you could sell me on that. You could sell me on that one. But don't tell me that it's because a man poor that he killing people. He taking job to kill people. Absolute rubbish. Right? I don't buy that. Because when we look at the vehicles that were used to in the assassination of my former colleague Randall Hector, there was no poverty. That wasn't poverty. When we look at the types of guns that these guys using, it ain't cheap. So that is no poverty. So don't give me that. Right? I'm not buying. However, I don't know what upon you selling it. I'm not buying that. These guys choose a life of crime because it's glamorous. They choose a life of crime because it gives them power that it's the only form of power that they really have. Because they look at the politicians who have certain powers, right? They look at the so-called, the wealthy in society, and they say, okay, they have power too. And they want some kind of power, right? And having a gun and people fearing you I say, nah, don't go wrong that man. No, that man dread by that man will take your life, that man will kill you. They like that. They like being fair. They like the respect that they get in their community from being fair. It has nothing to do with poverty because it have opportunity. If a man really wants to live a honest life, even though he is poor, there are opportunities. But you all, when you use that excuse, you don't realize that you are being an enabler because there are some people who want to hear that and they parroting that nonsense and feeling as if they are victims. And instead of you going out there and parroting that nonsense, use your platform, whatever it is, to promote the opportunities that the people may not know about. They may not know. They need guidance. Okay, you tell me how this, where I had to go, how I could sign up for this, where I could. It's sounding good. It's interesting. I want to do that. If anybody wants to be looking over their shoulder, some of these guys know there's a bullet out there with a name on it, and it's only a matter of time before they become acquainted with that bullet. So they don't care. They know they're living on borrowed time. We hear stories about some of them going to the funeral home and picking out their coffin and making arrangements already because they know it's only a matter of time before that happens. So don't tell me it has anything to do with poverty, right? When it is that these guys choosing to have children all over the place, because there are women out there who looking for, I want a man who is a shooter. She wants a man who everybody is afraid of. What's the benefit of that? Right? And he have 5, 6 different there's a child mother in the same area. And you okay with that? And you are the beneficiary coming and giving you the money and not poverty. So don't give me that, please. All right, see, man. So I'm just saying, making reference to the fact that we have seen a decline. I was looking at Jamaica, for instance. So they are ahead of the number of murders last year. They have surpassed. So while they would have seen a decrease overall in murders last year, this year has not started off so well for them. So they are ahead of where they were based on the figures last year, right? And end of year figures for Barbados. I just feel I need to read these things. Okay, so that's not, let me just get it here. So, let's see. Just a quick read. January 5th, Barbados homicide statistics for January to December 2024. At the end of 2024, Barbados recorded at least 50 murders between January 1st and December 31st. For the same period last year, that is January to December 2023, there were at least 21 homicides. So this represents an increase of at least 29 homicides of 138%. Right, so Barbados for 2024 would have seen an increase in their murders of at least 138%. At least 138% increase in murders in Barbados. But yet still Barbados's tourism sector is booming. Now people tell you, okay, 50 murders, we wish we could have 50 here. Barbados has a population of 285,000 persons approximately. Trinidad and Tobago has a population of 1.4 to 1.5 million. All right? Notice the significant difference. So when we look at Barbados, look at, for instance, Tobago had 20-something murders. Okay, so the islands with these smaller populations, you would take note that while the number of murders may be less, significantly less than Trinidad and Tobago, for them, it's a big thing. Right? It's a big thing for them relative to the size of their population. Barbados cannot afford to have 500 and 600 and 1100 and 1200 murders for the year with such a small population, because in no time at all they would be what's the term I'm looking for? An endangered species. Okay? So, but for them, 138% increase in murder, which Barbados is supposed to be a tourism paradise. And most of these murders were at the hands of, committed through the use of guns. So they are facing the same problem that we're facing. We don't talk about that, The problem is Rowley. The problem is Hines. Well, if Barbados saw a 138% increase in murders last year as opposed to 2023, why are they not calling for Mia to go? Why they're not calling for the Minister of National Security in Barbados to go? Because for them, 50 murders for them is like 600 and something murders for us here. Right? If they were to see 600 murders in a year, for them that is a crisis, something drastically wrong. But for them, 50 murders is a big deal. I ain't hear nobody saying Mia must go. I ain't hear nobody saying the Minister of National Security in Barbados must go. Right? For the last how many years, Jamaica recording over 1,100, 1,200, 1,500, as high as 1,600 and something murders. Ain't nobody say Andrew Holness must go. Right? They're calling for the Minister of National Security in Jamaica to go. You hear them saying that the Jamaican government is incompetent? Because when you make those utterances here in Trinidad with respect to our government, and we're seeing that our regional partners, our regional colleagues are facing the same situation, St. Vincent, St. Kitts, Grenada, all of them. When you say that our government is incompetent because they cannot deal with the crime situation, and the same exists throughout the Caribbean region, that all prime ministers are battling this same issue, then you're saying that they're incompetent too. Because Mia Motley, how she explaining that? She incompetent, and her minister is incompetent. Andrew Holness is incompetent. Ralph Gonzalez is incompetent. Deacon Mitchell is incompetent. All of them. Because they can't seem to get a handle on the crime situation. None of these countries produce guns. But yet still, they have the problem. So therefore, what? All of their borders porous too. The scanner's not working on any of their ports. Because if in Trinidad you're telling me this is how the guns coming in, and they're having the same problem throughout the Caribbean region, how the guns coming into those countries. Had to be that their borders porous and the scanner's not working. And their Coast Guard don't have the facilities that they need to man the ports and to protect the borders. Right? Because if that is what is causing it in Trinidad, and the same problem exists outside, in the region, it had to be the same thing. Otherwise, you'd have to tell me, well, if everything working good over there in those other countries, then how the guns coming in? But anyway. So the misleader of the opposition continues her assault on Stuart Young and her party by extension. And the media, ably assisted by the media. So in yesterday's Guardian, Arima unhappy, Beckles overlooked for PM post. Now I imagine if it had gone the other way and Penny had gotten the nod, the constituents of Stuart Young's constituency would have, this headline would have been different. We'll probably see Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West unhappy, Young overlooked for PM post. You could only have one PM, right? At a time, only one. So whichever way it went, somebody's constituents would have been upset. But the media felt the need to go to Arima and to poll the residents of Arima and the constituents of Arima so that you could come back and say they're disappointed. Some of the people who complaining, in 2014, you all had an opportunity to make Penny Beckles your leader. Did you vote for her? I think they said Penny got 1,300 and something votes to Dr. Raleigh. How much? Thousands and thousands of votes. It was a shellacking. Where were all of you? All these constituents of Arima. Where were you? Why you didn't vote for Penny in 2014? If you had voted for Penny in 2014, Penny would be Prime Minister today. So only 1,300, and I'm sure all 1,300 of those persons who voted for Penny in 2014 didn't come from Arima alone. So she didn't get much support. And if we look at, because it was a countrywide vote. So come now, man. But you see, that's what the media wants to do. Because they find this thing salacious, and we need to continue to add to it and add fuel to the fire, to stoke division. And we're seeing shadows of 2010. Because remember, let us not forget in 2010, Arima featured prominently in the PNM's loss. And again, it involved Penny Beckles. Now, this is no assault on Penny. I like Penny. Right? I think she's a very nice person. She's my line minister. And in my interactions with her, she's a very nice person. But so don't mistake what I am saying here. In 2010, remember the issue, Penny offered herself to run for Arima. And Mr. Manning had other ideas. And he wanted Laurel Lazama leasing, right? And the people of Arima made it clear we don't want Laurel Azama leasing or anybody else but Penny Beckles. And Penny would have screened. She was rejected by the screening committee, and Laurel Azama leasing was selected. What was the outcome of that? Arima people say no Penny, no vote. No Penny, no vote. And they held true to that. They didn't vote for the PNM. Some voted for the People's Partnership and some chose to abstain from voting. And the end result was the People's Partnership got the Arima seat through Roger Samuel. Penny attempted again to screen for Lahoketa Talbaro. And again, she was rejected by the screening committee. And what happened? Lahoketa Talbaro went to the People's Partnership through Jairam Simangal. Huh? So when we and when the media trying to stoke these things again, now no issue Penny running for Arima, but when it is that you're trying to create a thing, Penny and they reject Penny and come on. So you will have, and I'm already seeing people say, me voting, me voting. They ain't voting for the UNC, they're just not going to vote. And don't understand that no vote, that not voting is just as bad as if you voted for the UNC. Because the UNC support base is motivated to vote. They couldn't care who Kamala put. They don't care that David Lee have charges on $1 million bill. They don't care about that. If it was a PNM MP, you would have heard, that's what they want to put up. The man had charges and that, yeah. But they don't care. Once it's on their side, they will make all kind of excuses to tell you why nothing wrong with David Lee, because there is a PNM setup and the man innocent and it's PNM propaganda and all of that, and he ain't do nothing. That's what they want to come and tell you. Never mind if the police did their investigation. PNM had no involvement in that. The police did their investigation, they did the surveillance, because they would have said over a period of time, they would have had Mr. Leong Poi or whatever is his name, under surveillance, and they would have noticed that he was the person who was using the vehicle exclusively. The vehicle was parked up by him, and all of this formed part of the investigation, right? And they take note of the fact that, notwithstanding the fact that David Lee would have purchased the vehicle for the majority of time was not, while they had their surveillance going on, was not in the possession of David Lee, right? And that it was this, and based on other, probably they talked to the neighbors of the gentleman or whoever, would have said, well, yeah, well, he had a car about a year now or whatever it is, and so we thought it was his. So all of that. So when they want to come and make it seem as though the PNM and there's a propaganda thing and a smear campaign and the PNM set up the man, really? That is an insult to the TTPS. But yet still the fully dones will hold on to that and run with it. So that when David Lee, when he was charged and he came out of the offices of the FIB, I think, first thing he said, PNM at its best. You know you do nonsense. You do your thing. Right? There was some allegation in the public domain that was done as payback for some loan that he would have gotten from the individual. I don't know. Right? It is alleged. I have no evidence to support that. But again, at the end of the day, that's what they do. So the supporters of that party have no problem with that. They have no problem with the fact that one of the other persons who will screen and probably be successful is under police investigation for human trafficking and prostitution. They have no problem with that. But they want to come and tell you about Stuart Young's stepdaughter who on a drug charge. And that makes Stuart Young unfit, right, to lead, unfit to be prime minister. But David Lee's charge for fraud, misbehavior in public office, and conspiracy and whatever else, that doesn't make him unfit to serve as potentially the next minister of energy. No, it doesn't. It makes him eminently qualified. That is to tell you how skewed their morals and their ethics are. And this is the reason why persons like myself cannot vote for that party. Cannot. It has nothing to do with race. And as I told you, I couldn't care who is the political leader of the PNM. I couldn't care about the race, because that when I go to the polls, that does not matter to me. I'm looking to see the person's competence. It's not about who you like and who you do like. At the end of the day, it's about the person's competence. And I'm not just looking at the person's ability to lead. I am looking at your ability to make a significant contribution, right? I don't want a lame duck, lazy person as prime minister who figure that their sole job as prime minister is to cut ribbon, turn sod, and give speeches. But you do not make any impactful contribution to the development of the country, right? So that when I see Keith Rowley jumping on plane ever so often to go to Europe, to go to the US and other places to speak with the heads of the energy companies, to speak directly, to use the weight of his office to let these people know, listen, we're not playing games. You all are exploiting our natural resources, which makes a significant contribution to the country's economy, and we need to get the best deal. You have your shareholders, and my shareholders are the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And I'm not just leaving it up to my minister, who is quite competent and quite capable to do the job. But when it is that the prime minister of the country can take time out of his schedule to come and sit with you in your boardroom, it says, we're serious. And I will come and I will meet you in your boardroom and I will be dressed in a suit. I'm not going to tell you to come to my hotel room. And when you reach, I just get up because I probably had too many sours the night before. And you reach, and it's going to take me a year and a day to put on my face and to get dressed. So, you know what? Come upstairs and we will talk. And while I'm a duster coat and my nightcap. Now, forgive my appearance, gentlemen, but I'm feeling a bit under the weather this morning. Well, that's all right. Yeah? I don't want a prime minister like that. I want a prime minister who's serious. That's what I want. And at the end of the day, all who want to criticize George Young, you're criticizing him on nonsense. His ex-stepdaughter has nothing to do with him. Whatever her troubles are. In the same way, when Tim Gopi Singh was Minister of Education and his son went to purchase doubles and he had somewhere, probably finding waiting too long, whatever, went into his trunk and pulled out a cutlass and asked the doubles vendor. Did the UNC faithful say that Tim Gopi Singh is unfit to be Minister of Education because his son went and take out a blade from his trunk and asked the doubles vendor, and it was caught on camera, and he was subsequently charged? This is the Minister of Education. What kind of example your son setting? What kind of example is that? But they just conveniently forget them things. How many times has Tim Gopi Singh acted, was a temporary senator last year and the year before, notwithstanding the fact that he's been out of the politics, representative politics, for almost 5 years. But from time to time, Kamala Persad-Bissessar has brought him back. What was the outcome of that matter with his son? But they told him, where's your young daughter? She out of the country? He got a pass for she to leave the country? That is asking the question. Well, you don't know where the young lady is. She's no longer affiliated with Stuart Young, right? Oh, she out of the country, she in Miami, she here, she there. Propaganda. And ask any of them, or they could produce evidence of that. Well, I hear you hear that. Where is the evidence of it? But you running on hearsay. That making sense to you? But it's okay for them to do things. And again, speaks to the leadership of the party. You had Glenn Ramadas Singh, who was accused of forcing a woman to perform oral sex on him for an HTC house, which she never got. But that didn't stop Persad-Bissessar, and that matter was never fully resolved because the police would have gotten involved. It was published in the newspaper and so on. And then after that, we hear that the allegations that the woman was peed off and so on to change her story and so on the like. But that didn't stop Persad-Bissessar from making him the chairman of the Superior Regional Corporation. You elevated him. The grand scheme of things, that the best political position you could have offered him while he was the opposition leader. You give him that. That is why we don't vote for the UNC. It has nothing to do with race. It is because of things like that. When it is that you have a man who was fired from 2 public utilities companies for gross misconduct, and yet still you gave him the nod. You had other candidates whose rap sheet was a little more palatable but you bypass them to put him. Right? We can't have confidence in somebody like that. Because when you know this person has engaged in wrongdoing, but you're willing to put them back to serve in government, tells me something wrong, because they show they have the propensity to be corrupt. And you just, that's like taking, as they say, the proverbial fox and putting him in the hen house, and you figure what? He will just sit there and look at the chickens. You're not going to help himself to a few. You heard the claims, the person who now sits as the member of parliament for Couva North, even his predecessor, tell us on Facebook she couldn't support him because of evidence of human trafficking and prostitution. She didn't say allegation, she said evidence, which clearly the leadership of the party had. But yet still in the face of that, Prasad Bisasa, when interviewed by the media, says, I have confidence in all of my candidates. All. That is why we don't support the UNC. When it is that you have MP after MP could come up on a platform and lie and tell you an email gate matter that Google say the emails were fake, and Microsoft say the emails were fake, and the DPP say the emails were fake, and the US Circuit Judge said that the emails were fake, and nothing could be further from the truth. But they have no problems mounting a platform and night after night lying to you, the population, and telling you something different. You know why? Because they know the majority of you don't read. Headline Readers Association, but they wouldn't take the time to go and read the report, the final report of the deputy DPP, which never said and which outlined and told us what everybody said with respect to the emails. And the only person who said that the emails were fake was Gary Griffith. Nobody else. But they weren't telling you. I tell everybody else say it was fake. That's why we don't support. When you could go and sign a condolence book for your former parliamentary colleague who lost her life in the most tragic of circumstances, but you don't even have the decency to attend the funeral. And I didn't give an explanation. All you decide you ain't going to, but save two. This is your former parliamentary colleague. And I'm certain that because of the nature of Lisa Morris Julian, that she didn't have an any set of animosity with respect to their relationship. I know there are members on the government bench who don't like the heads of those UNC colleagues at all. I've been told by some of them, I don't have no kind of nothing with them. I'll be walking down the corridor and I see them and I pass them straight. No morning, good evening, no good night. I'm nothing to say to them, right? But Lisa wasn't one of those. And I don't blame those who take that position, because some of these persons are really repulsive. But I don't blame Lisa. Lisa wasn't one of those. So you say, well, we didn't have a good relationship, so I ain't going. No. We've heard the things about Lisa, the type of person that she was. Even when you listen to her contribution, she had the capacity to rebuke her opposition colleagues without being bitter, without being, harsh. And she would, go back and look at some of it in her contributions. That is why we don't vote. The hypocrisy. When we think and you want to play a sit down and you're taking pictures, you're signing condolence book and putting all kind of thing in there, but you're not genuine and you're not sincere, right? It was just a photo op. Being the attention prostitutes that you are. You couldn't find it, but you go on Munilal page. He didn't go to Lisa Morris Julian's funeral, but he was able to go to two other funerals based on what is on his Facebook page. Two other funerals right after. The day after hers, he went on another one, so he can make time for them. And who were these people? Activists, UNC activists, and wherever, right? These are just activists who he probably hardly had any kind of interaction with on one or two occasions. But this person whom you served 4 years and some in the parliament, you couldn't make the time to go to her funeral. Why? Because your leader didn't want to go and you don't want to show her up. You don't want the media to show, well, look, all these other members of parliament and the opposition bench turned out to say a final goodbye to their colleague, and their leader wasn't there. So we don't want to embarrass the leader. So you know what? We ain't going. What kind of example is she setting? Right? But she could have make her way to other people's funeral. Right? Yeah? Jaden Lalchan, she went to his funeral. She was there. They're doing there. They're doing there. Make sure the media catch you hugging up the mother and you're crying. Crocodile tears, trying to fool people. But your own colleague, you couldn't go. That's why we don't vote for them. That's why we don't support them. It has nothing to do with race. So all you want to come with this dotish talk about PNM, let's vote based on race. Well, now we have a non, the next prime minister is non-African. So where's all the excuse? So if we vote, when he is voted for and the PNM wins the next election, what are they going to say? Well, they can come and say, that is what is happening when you choose race. Which race we chose? Which race we chose? Stuart Young is mixed. The father is Chinese and his mother is East Indian. So he identifies more with you all who like to talk this dotish race talk and you all who support the UNC, right? He more identifies with you all than he identifies with us. So as always, you should be embracing him and running to vote for him. But then again, he have a slave master name, Stuart Young. They don't get no more slave master than Stuart. Yeah? Stuart. That is slave master name, according to all your leader. Right? So, what's the issue? He doesn't have a strong ancestral name like Sushila, Rudal, Devendranath, names like that. Who else it have? Like Surudratan. You don't have no strong ancestral name like that. Bohendranath. And these names. Basdeo. No. Stuart. And last name Young too. Strong slave master name is a Yare. All right? Just thought I would throw that out there for you, for all your hypocrites. I listened to Harvey Boris last night. Harvey is my friend, pledging his support for Stuart Young, but he has concerns as to whether or not Stuart Young can relate with the ground. You see this talk about ground, that has upset me, and the grassroots. How do you relate to the ground and the grassroots? How? Tell me now. Some people behave as if government only supposed to be for the poor. Right? Government not supposed to do anything or pass any policies to benefit the wider society or the country as a whole. The focus always supposed to be on the poor and the destitute. So with our poor people, the government supposed to find the money to take care of them. Even when you have persons who choose to remain in a state of poverty. All kind of excuses. I know it have some telling you, thing hard. You try to help them out to get them a job, proper job, and it's only as well, my arthritis and my blood pressure and the diabetes, and I don't know if I could do a 8 or 4. So you want to stay in CPAP, okay? But every Monday morning you come in to borrow money, and as soon as you pay back, a week later you come to borrow it back again. So is what? Is a joke? Telling you, giving you opportunities. God, you have all kind of excuses, but the government to blame for that, right? That's the government's fault. Government say, here what? Rather than just giving you a fish, rather than giving you a food card with $500 or $600, rather than giving you public assistance, or rather than giving you a disability grant or so on, we're creating opportunities. You want to start a business? We'll help you out with that. You're living in a little shack, rain falling, you had to be playing musical chairs. All right, we create the home and village improvement program. We will build a house for you on the same spot that your current shack is. We will build that for you. We have a budget of $200,000, but we want to be able to maximize this $200,000. So if you could get your friends and family and whoever else to come and pitch in and provide sweat equity, the labor, the money that we save in on labor, we could use that money to give you a better house. We could spend it on other things to make the house a little more comfortable. So go and talk to your friends and family. You don't have to put out any money. You're already living on a piece of land. You've been living there for how many years? And the house is in desperate need of repair. Lean. Here what? We're going to build a concrete house for you. 2 bedrooms, at least. Indoor plumbing. So no more having to run out to the outhouse in the middle of the night, rain pouring, and you have to take umbrella and so on. And you sit down and something passed by your foot and you're worried if it's a snake, if it's cockroach, whatever. You don't have to worry about that anymore. All right? We're giving you proper thing. You say proper thing. That's what we're giving you. You just get the labor. We're helping you out there. Right? They're doing all of that for you. But yet still you're complaining. Talking about the ground and the grassroots and Stuart Young is not a Where you get that from? If you don't know the man, hush your mouth. Hush your mouth. If you've never had interactions with him, you've never seen him in that light, then hush your mouth. You don't know, and I'm not referring to Harvey here, right? Because Harvey knows Stuarty. But I have spoken about my own interactions with Stuart. The first interaction I had with him where in my capacity as a member of the board of the St. Mary's College Past Students Union. Right? And I told you all in 2021, we wanted him to just do a short video welcoming the Form 1 students who were coming in, remember, under COVID times and so on. It was still virtual learning and the like. I had never spoken to the man before. I just happened to have his number. And I took a gamble and I sent him a WhatsApp message asking him. And within half an hour, he responded, "No problem, consider it done." I still have the message there. "No problem, consider it done." You don't know me from Adam. He has no idea who is this person, what's happening, where I get his number from. He didn't ask those things. He didn't ask all of that. Who is this? How I got my number? No. No problem, consider it done. Then subsequent to that, he sent another WhatsApp message asking me if I could just let him know my name and so on, so he could save my number and we could take it from there. Right? And then from there, right. Next year, ask him again thing. This time we asked him to come in person. And he came Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. He had something else to do that day, but he made the time to come and speak to the students, to share with them his experiences when he was a student of St. Mary's College, to give them that encouragement, to tell them about how his career developed and all of that. He took the time out to do that. I sent a WhatsApp message to another member of government who I will not name, asking them, ask them for documents with respect to the number of recusals that took place under the last administration from 2010 to 2015, because the individual had the information, was at a meeting, speaking at a meeting sometime before, and ran out of time before they could give us the details, right? And seemingly never got another opportunity to come back and to give us those details at a time when the UNC was making an issue of that and still making an issue of it. I'm still waiting for a response. And this goes to show you the difference. And this is a name of one of the persons who is a name that is being bandied about as a potential future leader of the party. To date, no response. Stuart Young responded in half an hour. Right? That's the difference. And that's the nature of the man. And that is how he is. I told you all before for Carnival, and you will see it. And this is not no papi show thing, because he has gotten the nod to replace Dr. Rowley as Prime Minister, to serve for the rest of Dr. Rowley's term. Carnival, you will see him pushing pan. Juniors, seniors. Right? He out there on the green talking to people while everybody else up in the VIP section in the grandstand, sipping on the finest, eating the finest and laughing. Ha ha ha. Stuarty out there wearing the jersey of whoever it is, and he pushing. He out there meeting the people. So if you have concerns about whether he could relate to the grassroots and relate to the ground, he has been doing that long time. Long time. Not now, not last year and year before. Long time. You will see him in the panyard supporting his band. I can't remember if it's Despers or I can't remember. I know Dr. Rowley is in Vida. So one of them. Is either Despers or Renegades. Jenny will remind me. I'm sure she knows. Right? But as in nature, the man who have concerns about whether or not he could relate to the ground. Let's go on his Instagram page and you will see. Have pictures. Jenny will share pictures with Stuarty and her pumpkin. Go and see. So, Kamla Prasad Bisesa, how does she relate to the ground? You will see around, right, other than when they have the Monday night meeting, and when she coming in, she will shake hand and smile, and she playing, she kissing baby and touching face and all of that. What other interactions does she have? Elections coming, you'll see her stand up behind a truck, one of them pick up, them panel van, and she waving like Princess Margaret. Yes, that's how she relates to the ground and the grassroots. But they love her too bad, you know. Well, the supporters at UNC, they love her too bad. But how else does she relate to them? How often is she in her constituency office? She don't even bother to walk her constituency because she takes it for granted that they will vote for her. So I don't even need to go and see these people. Really? When it is the mother and daughter died in the house fire in her constituency 2 years ago, where was she? Did she attend the funeral? She didn't even know the Superior fire station was without a fire tender. And she has been the MP there for how many years? For how many years? And she didn't know that. It took that fire for her to find that out. She spoke on it once. She spoke on it once. She so care, right? But when the fire took place and it was brought to her attention that the station was without a fire tender at the time, she spoke on it then. And what representation has she made since then to get a fire tender for the Superior fire station? Did she pick up the phone and call the Minister of National Security? No, you come up on your Monday night forum to complain and talk about that. And that was the end of that. It wasn't important for her to press the issue. But then you can't. When it is that as Prime Minister, you build about 8 fire stations and didn't buy a single fire tender for any one of those 8 fire stations. Not one fire tender. You build things so it could put a plaque with your name on it. When they were opening the Mayaro fire station, they so want to rush to open it before the election because in case you lost, you want Rowley to come and put his name on a plaque for something that you built. Remember? Mayaro fire station. And by the time she left from the commissioning ceremony, it was the Mayo fire station because letters that they put duct tape to hold up the letters. Unfortunately, it held up long enough so that the commissioning or the opening ceremony could have been completed and everybody gone. And then the letters started to fall off. No fire tender, no equipment, nothing. But you're building, as Pandey used to say, build so that when you leave office and they ask where the money gone, you could point and say, we build that, we build that, we build that. But no utility, no use. But all you want to kill Rowley and kill Hines because they don't have enough fire tender. And where the fire tenders? And the stations are without fire tenders and whatnot. Rowley didn't have the money that Kamala had. Kamala is the only prime minister or former prime minister boasting, we had the highest energy revenues in this country's history. You doubt, man? Go and find the press conference that she did in 2019 after Dr. Rowley had that session, the Mind Your Business session, the two-part series that he did where he came to explain to the people what they met when they came in 2015 with respect to the revenue position and all of that and the fall in oil prices and so on. After he did the first one, the next day she called a press conference and she was surrounded by Fuad Khan and Tim Gopi Singh and whoever else. And she said that in that press conference, we had the highest energy revenues in the country's history. She said that. Not me making that up. Go back and look for it. It's right there. That's how I heard it the first time. And she said it subsequently. She said that. But your build fire station, no fire tender. You forget that. You forget that's an important component for a fire station. But all you find, Rowley should find the money. And when Rowley want to borrow the money, all you have a problem with that. But all you want Rowley to give all you everything. She gave all you one hospital. And for that, you find she deserves a national award. One hospital she built under God too. To get there, if you have your own transportation, it's pressure. But Rowley built 5 hospitals for you. All you ungrateful bastards who support that party. Talking about the state of the healthcare system and the state of the healthcare. Is the persons who working in the health institutions who are responsible to give you the healthcare? The minister can't go inside or the prime minister can't go in there and demand that they do their work. Productivity has always been an issue in this country. Yeah, we're working on 2013 salaries and we need a salary increase. Where is the commensurate increase in productivity? We want a salary just because every 2 years we're supposed to get a pay raise. But is the public that you're serving benefiting? Are they seeing the rewards or the benefits of you getting that pay raise in terms of the way that you interact with them and how you do your job? And when they come in your face sour because you and your man had a fallout the night before, or because you hear your girl horn you, right? Or you can't manage your money properly. You want to spend it on all kind of nonsense. You went Tom, Dick, Harry, Jenny, and Jane, and people want back the money and you vex, and you come to work, and the people who you're supposed to be serving have to bear the brunt of your irresponsibility because you ain't want to do your work. And you find you ain't getting paid enough because the money that you're making always. Who fault is that? That's the Prime Minister's fault. But half the people who talking about all the state of the healthcare in the country and the healthcare is worse. Ask them if they ever went to the hospital. But you know what they're running with? They hear somebody say that. But all these stories are persons who I think I have one story saved here with a gentleman who spoke about he 2 nights ago. He went to San Fernando Hospital for an emergency, and he was expecting to be there for how many hours, and he was surprised at how quickly he got through and the level of service, and he's praising the doctors and the nurses and the other staff at San Fernando General Hospital for the quality care that he received. Quality care. He talked about all the tests that they did, the CT scan and the this and the that, but the media wouldn't big up that. So you will see that on social media, but you wouldn't see it in the newspaper. But if one person goes to the hospital and have a bad experience, so yes, tell us about that. We want to write a whole editorial. Government ain't doing their work. Jack Warner went to the Arima Hospital, and based on the care that he got, he said that the Arima Hospital is the best kept secret of the Ministry of Health. And people will say, well, it's Jack Warner, so they treated him good. No, because I've heard a number of other persons who have gone to the new Arima Hospital and tell you the quality of service and how quickly they got through. But we don't talk about how the healthcare system is the worst. You have 5 brand new hospitals. The central block in Port of Spain is almost finished. Right? This administration decided to see that whole building that there since Jesus was in Pampas. We get rid of that. Especially after the damage that was done with the big earthquake in 2018. But with the highest energy revenues in the country's history, what did Kamala Persad-Bissessar do to the Port of Spain General Hospital? What did they do? What improvements did they make? This government has put aside $34 million to improvements to Mount Hope, San Fernando, which is called the legacy hospitals, and the other portions of the Port of Spain General Hospital that remains there from before, because you know the front and stuff that is considered to be a heritage building, so you could do work on the inside and so on, but it is being improved. When my sister was at Port of Spain General for the time prior to her death, right? Before, in the years before, you know, they used to have this ward and what was then the central block. The windows open, no AC, and you have this whole wide ward, and you just go in there and you're feeling depressed. You don't want to go inside it. But when she was there and going to visit in a nice air-conditioned building, sometimes she used to complain the AC a little too cold, right? But nice facilities. They didn't have. Kamala had all the money. And all she could boast about is the Kuva Hospital, the Kuva Children's Hospital. She only could boast about the Arima Hospital, the Grandi Hospital, the Roxborough Hospital, the Point 14 Hospital, and the Central Block, the new Central Block for Port of Spain, which looks very nice. And with the additional work that is being done, it would be upgraded. But he cannot upgrade the staff. So if you go there and you have a bad experience, it is not Dr. Rowley's fault. A friend of mine told me about, well, I mean, and who you want to blame? The staff you had to blame if they come to work and they disgruntled and they decide. She was telling me she went there, her father had an issue because he has cancer and so on. And while he was there, she saw somebody pass away because the guy went into cardiac arrest. Apparently he fell and hit his head, he came to. And he was sitting, waiting, whatever as the case may be, going into cardiac arrest. His family went telling the doctors, and say, hey, the man going into cardiac arrest. And she said, you know, they were just cavalier. They come and they bring the stretcher and thing and the gurney and put him, and they just wheeling him normal as if. Whose fault is that? I told you in the situation with my mother, when she had an episode and which led to her demise at the Arima Hospital, the old Arima Hospital. The new one wasn't built yet. It was under construction. And you get there and they take it, well, attending to her. And then I am sitting there waiting to hear some positive news. And I see one nurse comes out of the room, another one going, and she's asking for some piece of equipment. And the nurse who just came out of the room that my mother is in, that she's supposed to be attending to her, is saying, yeah, well, you could take the one in that room, you know, because that patient inside there, she feeding. So don't tell me you don't, like whatever, she's feeding. So you don't give up already. Right? Whose fault is that? Now, I'm certain if it was her family member, the level of urgency would have been different. But when you see patients come in and you consider them to be a statistic, another one, it don't matter. There is no emotional connection to the person because you don't know them. So you're not going to put that urgency. Whose fault is that? But at the end of the month, that nurse collect her salary, right? But the family just lost a loved one. Okay, we see this every day. Whose fault is that? As the Minister of Health's fault? He know about that. He knows when these things happen. But anyway, the leader of the opposition is making an issue with respect to um, Stuart Young, that if he serves even one day as the substantive prime minister, that he would receive a pension equivalent to the prime minister's salary for the rest of his life. And she has a problem with that. She says it's going to cost taxpayers $1 million a year or so. The same money she's getting for having done absolutely nothing. For the last 9 years and some, she's been collecting the prime minister's salary. Yet still, what quantity of work has she done to earn that? And when we look at what Stuart Young has done in the last 4 years as Minister of Energy as compared to the whatever Prasad Bisesa has done in the last 9 years and some as leader of the opposition, other than cause couture and bacchanal, I think Stuart Young earned his money. In fact, the salary that he is collecting now, relative to the work that he has done in the Ministry of Energy, I think he deserves, even if he served one day as Prime Minister, I think whatever money he gets, he is deserving of it. And I would challenge anybody to tell me, compare Stuart Young to the last 3, 4, 5 ministers of energy, including his own colleague, and tell me who has been the most successful. That Stuart Young was able to accomplish what the rest of them would. The Dragon Gas was, I keep saying, something that straddled 3 administrations. The Manning administration wasn't able to do it. The Prasad Bisesa administration wasn't able to do it. Never mind the fact that they made little effort to do it at a time when there were no sanctions and when it was much easier to do it because there weren't sanctions on Venezuela yet from the US. Right? So if they had done it then, guess what? If they had done then between 2010 to 2015, what Stuart Young has been able to accomplish over the last 4 years, you know what? We wouldn't be having a problem for US dollars today. The government wouldn't be struggling. The natural gas sector wouldn't be struggling. They wouldn't be at 2.5 million scuffs per day or billion scuffs per day. They wouldn't have been at that. You know why? Because Dragon would have been operational years ago. If Kevin Ramnarine, who considers himself to be the best minister of energy this country ever had, if he had done what Stuart Young had done, perhaps Dragon might have come on stream since 2016, 2017, instead of waiting to 2027. And we would have been reaping the rewards of Dragon for the last 10 years. Instead of now, it being more difficult and it having a question mark, despite the fact that everything that needs to be done has been done. So they're doing the surveys now and Venezuela ain't waiting, right? They have engaged and involved themselves to the point where they went get the survey vessel and stuff. So they're trying to expedite this thing. If Maduro could have made that happen this year, he would. But because of the process of having to establish the infrastructure and so on, the estimated start time is 2027. But we know with who coming in the US in the next few days, unfortunately, that might have a big question mark because the persons that he has selected to serve as Secretary of State and whatnot, they have a big beef with Maduro. So we will see how that plays out. But we shouldn't have had to be worrying about that today. If Ramnarine had done it, if he had done what Stuart Young has done, had he done it during his tenure, we wouldn't need to be worrying about that because that would have been an established project years ago. The country's foreign reserves wouldn't be at 5-point-something billion. It would have been more than that because we know this administration would have managed the monies, the revenues that would have been generated over the last 10 years almost. They would have managed it better than their predecessor. And so the country's foreign reserves would have been much higher. And we wouldn't, as I said before, we wouldn't need to be worrying about foreign exchange now. If Kevin Ramnarine had been able to negotiate Loran in the way that Stuart Young has done, the Loran Manatee field could have been operational now. Just Loran Manatee alone is almost the amount of gas, proven gas that is there, is almost equivalent to Trinidad and Tobago's total proven reserves of 11.2 or 11.3 trillion. Loran Manatee alone is 10 trillion cubic feet. As I told you all before, that whole Venezuelan basin there is over 200 trillion cubic feet of natural gas that's just there. But they're still talking about in-border gas and in-border gas, David Lee, and this nonsense. In-border gas. That is, We have in-border gas fields that were discovered since 1983. And again, thanks to the efforts of the very same Stuart Young, that for the last 40 years, these gas fields were just there. They were found, they were there. What did the UNC do between 2010 to 2015 since all you're so into in-border gas? Instead of offering incentives for them to come and drill to find new oil and new gas, why you didn't tell them to develop what you already knew was there? Why you didn't do that? Stuart Young did it, right? So gas fields that have been there, discovered since 1983 and was just there, is Stuart Young. Thanks to Stuart Young today, he has gotten these companies to take final investment decisions to now monetize this gas that has been sitting there since 19 long. If Kevin Ramnarine, right, had half the ability of Stuart Young, we would be in a much better place today. The government would have the money to pave all the roads. They would have all the money that you want to spend on everything that you want them to spend it on. But he didn't do that. And I keep asking, name one gas deal that Kevin Ramnarine and Kamala Persad-Bissessar negotiated that we could say the country is benefiting from today. With all of these sweetheart concessions that they gave to the energy companies, you had to pay no tax until 2027. Name one. I'm asking the supporters of the UNC who are listening here. Tell me one gas deal. I am making it easy for you. Just one that Kevin Ramnarine could point to and say the reason why we're getting gas today and the country is getting revenue from this is because of what he did. Up to now, well, you can't name one because there isn't. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. In fact, the energy sector lost 8 companies. The article is there, lost over $10 billion in revenue because of his incompetence. But he has the audacity and the unmitigated gall to criticize Stuart Young and claim that the PNM destroyed the energy sector. Really? The renegotiation of the Atlantic LNG arrangement that is going to see Trinidad and Tobago benefiting more in terms of the country's ownership in the trains. Why Kevin Ramnarine didn't do that? Look, we saw NGC lost $1.3 billion last year. Right? Why? Because of 2 bad deals that they made, that the great Kevin Ramnarine and Kamala Persad-Bissessar made, but don't want to take the blame for it. I will give you all kind of run around and talk about a mile of dotishness and try to put the blame. But the fact is, the experts are saying it is because of those 2 purchases that they made is why that happened today. Pure and simple. They could say what they want. They could spin it, twist it, turn it how they want. It doesn't change the fact. Facts are stubborn things. But getting back to the misleader of the opposition, who's so all of a sudden concerned about public money. What was the time there? I must see how quick I could cover this. Let me just touch this quickly because of... Yeah. Right. And she happy to post it up. Kamala, Stuart will be a taxpayer burden. Stuart will be a taxpayer burden. Prime Minister in waiting, Stuart Young will be entitled to collect a prime ministerial pension for the rest of his life if he serves just 1 day as Prime Minister, opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar has pointed out. And she reiterated her call for Prime Minister Dr. Rowley to prevent this travesty by calling the general election now and accused him of manipulating the system in the interest of Young. If Stuart Young spends a few hours, days, weeks, or months as substantive Prime Minister, despite never being elected by citizens, and then ceases to be Prime Minister, following general elections 2025, he will still be entitled to a Prime Minister's pension for life, which will cost taxpayers millions. And she goes on to talk about the salary and stuff, and it will amount to over $1 million per year at the expense of taxpayers. Well, I want to tell her, it's going to take Stuart Young 6 years. In earning a prime ministerial pension, it will take him 6 years before he could earn the amount of money that you wasted on helicopter rides. The 6-point-something million that you wasted on helicopter rides because apparently you're allergic to traffic, despite the fact that you have blue lights and you have use of the bus route, and your police escort could just simply turn on their siren and clear the road to get you home to Philippines. You wanted to ride because apparently you are Queen Elizabeth, or as I say, Princess Margaret, right? You want to fly in helicopter, despite the fact that the Prime Minister's residence, the official residence, which she mentions that he would be entitled, she called out all the thing he'd be entitled to a fully staffed residence or whatever it is. So you recognize that the Prime Minister has access to a house paid for by the state, right? Your office was less than 5 minutes from the residence where you're supposed to be living. But you don't want that. You don't want that. You want to enjoy your brand new pink palace that your partner, your financier built, right? You want to, so you need to do that every day. Helicopter ride. You weren't concerned about taxpayers when you did that. 400 and something missions, or it is, and how much hours? 600 and something hours of flight time. I saw somebody post up on Facebook. They remember when she attended an event at SAGS, St. Augustine Girls High School, and she came in the helicopter and landed in the yard. Where they have the Mayfair, whatever it is, they can remember when the helicopter landed in the yard there with her. I wasn't even aware of that. But that's to tell you the extremes that she went to. No other prime minister in the Caribbean region has ever done that. None. No other prime minister in the Caribbean region has ever seen it fit to, every time you need to travel far distances, that you would utilize the national carrier. Right, that you would utilize the national carrier to Caribbean Airlines to take a whole jumbo jet out of service so that you could arrive in style. Dr. Rowley has never done that. But all the complaints they're making about how much money he spent, how many trips he make, and all of that nonsense, with all of that, he never did that. How much does it cost to take a whole jumbo jet out of service so that you and 40-something people could go to India? You and 40-something people could go to Brazil. You and 50-something people could go to China. You and 50-something people could go to Australia. Every single time that she did that, what did it cost the taxpayers? Were you concerned about that? The $172 million that the office of the Prime Minister and the diplomatic center, whatever it is, spent on you for the 5 years that you were there. In 9 years, they spent 102 on Dr. Rowley. You were there for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. It cost $172 million. So based on the prime ministerial pension you're talking about, it would take Stuart Young 172 years. 172 years to be able to collect enough prime ministerial pension to equate to the money that you spent or was spent on you for that 5-year period. I don't think Stuart Young going to live 172 years. I think he's 49 now based on what I saw. I don't think he have another 172 in the bag. Okay? So when we add that 172, add that 36 million or whatever as the case may be, and the other things. When your sister was living it up, the money you spent on your sister so she could play nurse, right, to help you to unbuckle your bra strap, and give you your diabetes medication, because you can't do that for yourself. For the last 9 going into 10 years, you're doing it for yourself. But when you were younger and stronger, you couldn't do it. You needed a nurse. Taxpayers' expense. So every time you travel, she has to go with you. So she's joyriding all over the world. Were you concerned about taxpayers' expense? The 200 and something thousand on one trip and the 100 and something thousand on another trip. Were you concerned about taxpayers then? But you're concerned now about taxpayers and how much money you'll have to spend on Stuart Young pension. How much money did you, when all you spend the millions on the happiness campaign to fatten the pocket of Ernie Ross, to run ads to tell the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago what it means to be happy. I keep saying, if you had gone and stand up at the corner of Frederick Street, or any street for that matter, and hand out $20, $5, $10, people would have been much happier than the nonsense you spent it on. Were you concerned about taxpayers' money then? Were you concerned? I just asking that question. You weren't concerned about taxpayers' money then. But all of a sudden, you have a concern about taxpayers' money. Really? Can't be serious. But you want election, call the election now. You named 8 candidates so far. 8. The PNM has named about 33. All you called for nominations long before the PNM did. And that goes to tell you incompetence. Since January last year, all you're calling for nominations. And so far, you've only been able to name 8 candidates as opposed to the PNM's 33. Right? Yeah, shame. Now, let me address one more quick thing. I have quite a few things I wanted to touch on, right? I saw News Source, Rhoda Barrett, posting a set of things. The same person who just a couple of weeks ago was complaining about leaks and leaks coming out of the cabinet and so on, and these leaks. But now she has become leaker-in-chief. Leaker-in-chief. All kind of thing about what inducements was offered to people to support Stuart Chung and all kind of nonsense. Really? Where that coming from? How credible are these sources? I just asking that question. You can't tell me 2 weeks ago you had a problem with leakers, but now you information coming into hand to me. Okay, if the information comes into hand to you and you are the only person who has put this out there, we have not seen it on any other platform, at least I haven't. So that if it come to you, you assess it. Nah, you see me going and publish that, nah? But that is in the public domain because you put it there. I have not seen anybody else put that out there about what inducements was offered to who and all kind of nonsense and the like. So don't come to tell me you're complaining about leaks, and then you come in now to be the sole person who's putting out information that even if it is true, you have now become leaker in chief. The very thing that you were condemning the other day is now you are now doing it. That is only causing further strife and unnecessary kuchura and bacchanal. But that making sense. Because you probably disagree with how Stuart Chung was chosen. Through a democratic process, the only people who can make that decision as to who it is they intend to support in the parliament for prime minister are those 21 persons. So whether it is they do it in a retreat or otherwise, the fact of the matter is that the constitution, the country's constitution allows for that. But don't come to tell me that you're putting out all this other information there. Who is your source? You were trying to figure out who is the leaker and this one and that one. So who is leaking to you? Who is giving you this information? And does it make it any better than what it is the other person or the other leakers were leaking? With respect to the claim about the Tobago airport and all of that and whatnot and stuff, you were most upset. But today, you come in to do the same thing that you were condemning the other day. Because as I said, maybe it's been on other platforms. I haven't seen it. The only person I see talking that thing about inducements and who was offered position at AG and who was offered the local government and so on is coming from news source. So if you have a problem with leaks, don't tell me you have a problem with leaks and now you come in to leak. Were these things told to you in confidence, or was this information given to you so that you would purposely put it out there to create couture and bacchanal and provide fodder for the opposition to now say the PNM and chaos and the PNM and freefall and so on? That making any sense? And let me just address one other thing quickly. I will follow up on it. You see this talk about Stuart Chung and 1% dotish talk, and I can see even Pasad has the audacity to talk that stupidness, right? I have said to you all before, the 1% has benefited more from Kamala Persad and the UNC than they have benefited from this Keith Rowley administration over the last 9 years, right? And every time I hear them talk that stupid talk about the 1% and Rowley and the PNM in the back pocket of the 1%, and I ask them, how so? How does the 1% benefit from the government? They can't tell me. You know why? Because it's just a propaganda talking point. A propaganda talking point, because guess what? The people who make the most amount of money from any government in this country is who paving a road. I am not aware that they have any 1%. And when we talk about 1%, we know who we're talking about, the Syrian Lebanese community. I am not aware of any Syrian Lebanese who own any road paving company. The majority, in fact, the majority of persons who engage in road paving are of East Indian descent. Namalko is of East Indian descent. Kalko, East Indian descent. Kusal, Junior Sami, at one point in time it used to have Munan. I don't know what happened to them. Danis, all of these people, right? They are not Syrian Lebanese. That is why Junior Sami, I am not aware of any 1% who owns a private jet. Junior Sami have a private jet, right? Sami group of companies, they had that. So let us not forget, and I keep telling you all, for the 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days that Prasad Bisesa was prime minister, you had government campus there that was built by the Manning administration to accommodate state-owned enterprises, ministries, and so on to save on rent that was going to the same 1%, because that is how the so-called 1% benefits the most. The state renting their buildings to house ministries and government departments. Mr. Manning built government campus to be able to reduce that rent. He did it in the north, in Port of Spain. He did it in south, right? Prasad Bisesa took the south building and turned it into a teaching hospital, which is today still underutilized. But that made sense to her. Because if you had used it for the purpose that Manning had built it, we would have been saving rent in South too. But of course, you have your people in South who own their buildings and you want the state to continue to rent from them. Don't interfere with Wilil Kakada. Fine, you did that. But in the North, all you had to do was to outfit the building. It was already constructed. It was sitting there. It was waiting. You ain't do that. Instead, you continue to rent from the same 1%. I told you all the building that was that previously used to house customs, that blue glass building at the bottom of at the corner of Abercrombie Street and Independence Square, that for the last 8 years has been empty, unoccupied, and Issa Nicholas has not been collecting. The only thing Issa Nicholas has been collecting for that building for the last 8 years is dust, no money, right? Because Keith Rowley, when he came in, one of the first things he sought to do was to operationalize the government campus and move customs out of rented accommodation into state-owned accommodation. But let us not forget, you remember who was the chairman of Caribbean Airlines when Prasad Visesa was prime minister? One George Nicholas, the son of Issa Nicholas. Don't forget that. Who did she have as the head of the chairman of the Airports Authority, who eventually became a minister? Jerry Hadid. Look who Keith Rowley have any so-called 1% as chairman of any board? Now, if you have Mr. Nicholas sitting as the chairman of Caribbean Airlines, so you got operationalize government campus and leave the man-father building empty. Well, you could do that. You can't do that. No. When Jerry Hadid made the comment about rats, and rats, you all remember that comment? When he was talking about when he was chairman of the Airports Authority and minister was calling him to try and get him to do certain things that he didn't want to do and give contract to this one and give contract to that one. That is what led to the rats comment. Well, remember? Right? Let us not forget. Keith Rowley didn't give any land to anybody down in Chagaramas, to the 1%. That was Kamla Prasad Visesa's doing. Right? Keith Rowley challenged all of those leases when he came in as prime minister. In fact, he indicated to these people prior to becoming prime minister that should the PNM win, or you see all that land that they're giving out down in Chagaramas, we intend to challenge every one of those leases. And he kept true to his word, took all of them to court. Till one of the individuals told them, well, here what, all I want to take back the land, no problem. Pay me $100 million because I already spent money to develop the land. Because when Dr. Rowley was talking that in opposition, them men and them say, nah, boy, you see this thing? Let me run quick and start to put on thing on the land. So if they win and they come in, we could at least have something to negotiate and compromise. I could say, well, I don't spend 20 million or 30 million, as the case may be, on this thing. Keith Rowley did that. It wasn't Keith Rowley that gave a member the 1% 100 acres to plant onions to export, and then we see the latest type of onion in the form of a restaurant. Right? Keith Rowley took back 50 of the 100 acres. Let us not forget that. It wasn't Keith Rowley that bulldozed the Guave Road farmers who had the slave master name, bulldozed the crops, the people who have been on these lands for ages, for years. It wasn't Keith Rowley that went and bulldozed their land and heap up the crops in a corner and tell them, well, go and salvage and see what you could get. Because this 4 acres here, this is for a good friend to build a car park for your water park. To then lease to the CDA for $900,000 a month. It wasn't Keith Rowley that did that. It wasn't Keith Rowley that take taxpayers' money to throw a big bram at the diplomatic center for the so-called 1%, the Syrian Lebanese community, to give a speech to say that if the rest of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago were to emulate the Syrian Lebanese community, Trinidad and Tobago would be a much brighter, a more prosperous, wealthy nation. If you emulate what the 1% is doing, if you emulate the Syrian Lebanese community, that we would be a much more prosperous nation. She said that. How emulate them in what way? What are they doing that we should emulate? Tell us. The same thing that you're criticizing today is what what a few years ago you told the citizens of this country they need to emulate the Syrian Lebanese community. So when you were prime minister, it was good to emulate, but today you have an issue with them. Yesterday was yesterday and today is today. And let us not forget these things. All the leases that they renewed, right? All the leases that they renewed for buildings in Port of Spain. She is the one who is against property tax. What is this, boy? She is the one who is against property tax. Just remember that. When she was prime minister, she had no problem with it because her minister, the $11.6 million man who made the announcement that they intend to bring back property tax and they will start with commercial. Here where they starting it? Commercial, and then we will go to residential eventually, right? And then he had a conversation with the business community and come back and say, well, we had discussions with the business community and so on, and we decided to put a hold on it. Who they had a conversation with? the business community. You didn't have a conversation with the wider country, the wider citizenry, those who would have to pay residential property tax. You didn't have a conversation with them. You had a conversation with the business community, and the business community let you know what time it is, and then you decide, right? To make who really making who richer? Who is promising that if you put them in office, they will cut the corporation tax in half? Not income tax, not the 25% that you making your small crumbs paying. Not you, right? That's not for you. Her primary focus is going to be on the business community, the corporate tax, the rich. So they will pay, instead of paying 30 that Keith Rowley put on 35, they will pay 18. But Rowley want to make the rich richer. So she says put her in office and she will repeal the Property Tax Act. No property tax. Who own the most palatial homes in this country is owned by whom? The poor man? Who really own it? Right now, there's a property on Wainwright Street in St. Clair. You know what what's the asking price? $34 million. $34 million for a house on Wainwright Street. You know what rent that could fetch? Right? If they were to do an assessment based on a price of $34 million, what you're asking for? Go on Wainwright Street where these Sabgas live and you will see. Right? Look at the homes on Wainwright Street. Go in Federation Park, Ellerslie Park, and see the palatial homes. Go in Fairways. This 1% talk started when Anthony Bourdain came here and he had dinner with members of the Syrian Lebanese community, and Peter George made the statement that the Syrian Lebanese community represents 1% of the population but control 95% of the wealth. And they ran with that. I want to come and tell you now about Stuart Young didn't grow up poor and he don't know what it is to be poor and all of that foolishness. Miss me with that. Is that a criteria? The President of the United States incoming. Did he grow up poor? Look at who his friends are. Look at the policies that he is putting in place to benefit who? To benefit who? Not the poor, not the destitute, not the struggling, not the people who lying down in front of buildings on Fifth Avenue where Trump Tower is in the freezing cold. Not them, not the people who lie down in front of buildings in Washington, D.C., buildings that just around the corner from the White House, which he will be occupying for the next 4 years. No. The policies that he's putting in place is not for their benefit. It's for the benefit primarily of big money, America. And these are the same thing. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar is looking to implement policies for the same thing. Understand that. So all who want to talk this dotish talk about the PNM and 1%, check yourself and see who really is for the 1%. Because all these people, when Keith Rowley is saying we need to get some property tax money from these people who occupying all these palatial homes, but the state has to be finding the money to ensure the streets are clean and properly paved and all of that. The other day, the same Philip Alexander, that hypocrite, there was a car that burnt out on the in front of Dominica Avenue in Federation Park, and the car was there for 2 days. He went and do a video and telling you, look at this sidewalk here. And you know, when you're in a neighborhood and you see trees like this on the sidewalk, you know it's a big shot area. Who maintaining that? The corporation, the Port of Spain City Corporation. And when it is the government is saying we need to get some property tax from these people who are living in this neighborhood here and enjoying the best of the best, let's get some property tax from them. You know, Prasad-Bissessar saying, no property tax. No residential. Look at this thing here. No residential, no commercial, nothing. So all the millions that they're making, the banks, Republic Bank have all of these branches all over the place that they own, they're renting. No property tax paying, plant and machinery. All these malls, these strip malls are opening all over the place. East Gates should be paying property tax. Not one cent, right? M6 Plaza on the National Ramaya Road, Pennywise Plaza, all these plazas that are opening and collecting millions of dollars in rents from their tenants every month. Keith Rowley is saying we want to bring commercial property tax, residential. So we will take money from the owners of these businesses for where they live, and then we will take money again from them for the businesses where it's located. They will pay commercial property tax. But Prasad-Bissessar saying no property tax whatsoever. So you know what? All the rent, all you're collecting for all these malls, and liking yourself, keep every penny, every cent, not one dime, save and except for corporation tax. And we will help you there too. So we will make sure you're paying no property tax, not on your residents or residences, because some of them have multiple, not on your businesses. And the money that you're paying, the rental income you're collecting, we will ensure that the amount of taxes that Rowley have you're paying on that, we will cut it in half for you. So who is really for the 1%? Who is really making the rich richer? But when we're talking this dotish talk about Rowley want to make the rich richer and all of that, check all yourself and see who really it is for the rich. Who it is. It's not Keith Rowley and the PNM. Because Keith Rowley and the PNM looking to take more from the rich, to give it back to you, the citizens of this country. But Prasad Bisasa promising them all kind of things. She'll cut corporation tax in half and remove property tax, and they're happy about that. And the revenue that we're losing from that, how is it going to be replaced? She ain't talking that talk, but only running her down. Yes, we need that. Rowley must go. Rowley must go. Well, put her back and let her implement those policies, and Oli will eat the bread that the devil needs. Just say I didn't tell Oli that. Let me put this thing on here. 7701763. Let me just get this here. One sec, Mr. Yates. Let me just connect this. Right. Hello? Hello?
Yes, are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Very good. I just have a couple of points to make this morning. One, let me deal with this Harvey Boris business. You see this talk about the ground? I want to tell Harvey Boris this. You see in Trinidad, you see in this country, I'm not talking about Tobago, you see in Trinidad, this concept that you are running with all the time about the ground and the ground and the ground. In my estimation, you have two grounds. You have the ground in Pinal, Dede, Oropuch, Siparia, Faizabad, and you move further east, further southeast, and you go along in Aprima Mayaro Road, that long stretch between Princestown and Rio Claro. You reach Rio Claro, then you travel more east, the 14 miles to Mayaro, and then you go up, I think you're coming back to Brandy, Cocal, and so on and so on. I've been trying to tell you about ground. The poorest and the most dispossessed of the Indians who never got anything from Pandey or Bisesa. Let me tell you what that ground mentality is. You see, when the election day is announced, they know they have nothing. They have no job, they have nothing, house and everything else. They know to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, eat a little piece of sada with water, not even tea. They don't have tea. Eat a little piece of sada with water. And all man get up at 5 o'clock, fix up the little thing to eat, the little piece of thing, and by 5:30, everybody bathed and ready and walk into the nearest primary school or community center in the area to vote to get the Indian party into power or to keep the Indian party in power. That is the Indian ground. That is the Indian ground. You come in the corridor. You know what is the ground there? The young boys who get up at 6, but they sit on the pavement with a cigarette in their hand and a bottle of hard wine between their foot. And any young girl who passes, hey, nice thing, sexy, sweet thing, daughter, family, and wouldn't go and vote for hell. That is the ground you're talking about. That has nothing to do with Georgia. It has to do with what I call a voting mentality and voting priority. The poorest and the most dispossessed of the Indian ground, in quotes, they know what to do election morning. Whether it's 90 years or 18 or 19 years, they know what to do. They don't have to be told by the mother or the father what to do. They just know. In other words, Indian control, Indian dominance, Indian hegemony. That is the language they know. That is ground in those Indian areas, Harvey Boris. But in the corridor, the ground is rowdies and red man. Here like black people, look we put, look at the but you start that. But now we bring the Chinese, the state boy, 1%, ignorant corridor ground. That is the ground you talking about. But they have two grounds there. They have the Indian ground and the corridor ground. The corridor ground, unfortunately, has absolutely no sense of voting priority because the same rowdies are dread man, it's the same rowdy party who get you young boy, to go to a little junior sec and pick up a little thing and a little comprehensive when you couldn't get into the prestige school. It's the same rowdy party that provide that for you, and you ain't take it. And rowdies are dread man, did this, did that together. So for Harvey Morris, that is what you should be putting in your pipe and smoke it and rethink your whole position from what I have told you this morning. Secondly, Mr. Roman, I watched, like many of us, most of us, I watched that whole sad funeral ceremony from Santa Rosa IRC Church. And I want to point out particularly the speech by Dr. Rowley, the eulogy by Dr. Rowley. And he said one thing that opened my eyes. He said, well, you know, we used to have parliamentary secretary, but we don't have that again. But now we have junior ministers. And the next statement told me everything that I needed to know. He said, a lot of people don't know, you know. But you know, it's the junior minister who does all the bulwark, who does all the hard work in the ministry, and the substantive minister, the senior minister, cutting ribbon and giving speech. He said so. And I am to look in the congregation and see people sniffing with napkin in their hand and handkerchief in their hand and crying and crying and crying. And that told me everything that I needed to know. See what Dr. Rowley said there? It told me about the whole story and the tenure of Mrs. Morris Julian in the Ministry of Education. I cut in it straight to the chase this morning. And I noticed for a long time, every time I saw that lady speaking in the parliament, or even standing up behind her senior minister, there was a perpetual look of sadness on that young woman's face. And I said to myself, And I also heard over the last year or so, the occasions when she would go to former senior people in the PNM, crying and talking about how horribly she was treated in that education ministry. I don't have to spell out anything for anybody. All I will say is saga girl, pretty girl. I'll leave that right there. Right there. And I wouldn't be surprised now that the professor has put a picture of Stuart Young and his stepdaughter, because of the luridness and the lowness and the nastiness of the UNC. It wouldn't surprise me at all if in the coming days we begin to hear from UNC platforms and from memes that Stuart Young was actually with the stepdaughter. That is the lowness and the mentality of the UNC. It wouldn't surprise me at all to hear about that and to see that on UNC platforms. And then finally, let me just say this. Let me just say this. Took up a lot of your time, but let me just close by saying this. Stuart Young provides the PNM with the best chance of winning the election this year. This is my personal view, but it is not only my view. It is the view also of one Gordon Loughlin, who wrote a letter recently saying that for him, his choice as the next prime minister is Stuart Young. And as I told you the other day, we look at the sociology of this country, background, social background, economic background, religious background, and we will understand why Gordon Loughlin said what he said. And to my mind, he reflected the thinking of the floating vote in the corridor. Now, when I talk about the floating, I'm not talking about the black intelligence here. I'm not talking about them at all. I'm talking about people who look like Gordon Loughlin, the mixed people, the French Creoles, the Chinese, the whites, the off-whites, and people like that. Those are the people I am talking about. And I strongly believe, I am in no doubt at all, and we are seeing it now with the business houses, including the Tobago Chamber of Commerce, by the way, including the Tobago Chamber of Commerce. They are also saying that they feel that Stuart Young is the best bet, is the best game in town, because he would be good for promoting the business sector in this country. We're not in this country, Trinidad and Tobago, where there might be some languishing. And because of his background and his connections, he is in the best position to inject some kind of lifeblood into the restoration of the business sector in Trinidad and Tobago. So for all the right reasons, I am suggesting that Stuart Young is the best person to lead PNM into the general election. And I am not surprised, because it has always been so. I'm not surprised that even more than the UNC, you have more black people opposing Stuart Young. Look at the comments last night on CNC3. What did people say? They interviewed about 7 people. 3 were African, and they all say, nah, Stuart Young had the experience, he ain't good. But they interviewed 4 Indians, and they all said to a man, they agreed with the choice of Stuart Young. We understand why. We're not stupid. We're born in Trinidad. We know the optics. We know why they like Stuart Young. And Kamla Prasad is mortally afraid. That is why she's afraid of Stuart Young. That's why she's afraid. That's why she's going after his personality and his family background, because she knows what the very presence of Stuart Young portends for the UNC. Because he also has the capacity to attract the Indian bourgeois upper classes, the doctors, the lawyers in this country, especially the fair-skinned ones. So we must take note of these things, and now we will understand 2 things: why Kamla is mortally afraid of Stuart Young, and we will also understand, on the other hand, why many black people who are interviewed say they don't like Stuart Young. They're taken chain up from the UNC, and that is a great pity. But I've said enough, and I leave the stage for other people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me just 1 sec there. Let me just switch this through. Hello, good morning.
Morning to you, Mr. Magumiel. Happy New Year to
Same to you, sir.
Followers. And we have much to do this year. I want to thank Mr. Yates for his sumptuous and lovely mellifluous drives to the boundary and his taken guard at the first 10 overs of the innings. I would not want to follow up by him. And I just want to mute to the PNM faithful. Remember that the first quarter century of this century, right? We opened this century with the UNC in power. Until the 5th year of the 1995 school, the only election called by Mr. Mann. The next year, well, in 25 years ago, we got the first rumblings of what was happening nefariously up at the Piafo airport. And by 2001, all hell had broken loose, right? We had 2 elections. After the second one in 2001, the 1818 tie, the president, A.N.R. Robinson, the Honorable, chose Mr. Manning to lead the government of the country. We fast forward, we began to see the returns from the LNG, Atlantic LNG, and the gains from the massive natural gas finds and so on, and the success of our LNG project. And I bring it forward to know what the juncture we are at now. We are now where the Prime Minister now, Dr. Rowley, dropped I would say, a nuclear bomb into the politics, the body politic, for all of us, and to carry the country forward. And not just the country, but the PNM and democracy. And how I look at it, it came out how the vote went down. So out of 21 members, it meant that Dr. Rowley didn't vote. He recused himself. Is that the behavior of a man who is a dictator, arrogant, and crass? That is a master stroke. That shows you somebody who has evolved and who is conscious of what is needed in this time. Dominic, we are of the generation who were born after independence.
Mm-hmm.
You have a cabinet that is composed mainly of such persons. And I want the PNM people to understand what you are getting and you are witnessing history is a chance to finally bury the politics of opposition and the UNP and from all its incarnations, from DLP to ULF to Club 88 to now. This is what we have the chance, if they allow Mr. Young to become the Prime Minister, one and the political leader of the PNM. You will be getting the chance for the people who were born after and enjoyed the first gains of PNM success and governance to take charge in this 21st century, uncertain as it will be going forward, and chart a different course, change history. This is what we are sitting on now. And we are looking at the opportunity for participation of perhaps more fence-sitters in an election that may be as consequential as the 1966 and 1971 election. We will have the opportunity to give a government headed by a man of mixed descent to change our country's trajectory, to change the station of all of us. And I want to likely move by Dr. Rowley as when Moses came to the River Jordan. And God had already told them, you will not be entered on the other side, but I'll allow you to see it. Dr. Rowley has toiled for 45 years to reach where he is. He is relatively robust, has good health, and he has a vision. And having reached to the bank of the River Jordan and looking at the promised land, he is going to hand that over to Mr. Young and others to carry forward. All the faithful of the PNM has to do is have faith in what he wants to do for them and for all of us generally. And all is required for them to do is to hit the ground running and sing from the hymn book that they have been using for the last 9 years. And with the leadership and by supporting Mr. Young, hopefully they can bring more a wider group of people under the tent, particularly the people under 25 who will be first-time voters this year. This is what this chess move has allowed us to envision and hope that we could grasp it with both hands and run with it. For it is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And Dr. Rowley understands this, standing where he is now, having toiled in the vineyards, and do the trajectory. Election defeat in 1981, victory in 1991. 33 years representing one constituency, 10 years as Prime Minister. Anybody want to doubt and tell me that this is not a fulsome, experienced person to hand over and tell us, hey, this is where we need to go? I want to find this morning that is Solomonic vision. just as when he settled the argument between the two mothers and the young babe. And I think we need to stand together, shoulder to shoulder. I would urge the persons who will be going to that general council just to listen to what I said or ruminate on what I said this morning. We have the vision once and for all to bury opposition politics and line up behind a leader whose intervention may save this place and carry us forward where we want to go as a united people, where we will all be proud to be Trinidadians and Tobagonians and rest the race boldly and bury it once and for all. And let's truly rise to the potential that Trinidad and Tobago can do. Thanks for the opportunity, Mr. Romain, and you take care.
You too, sir. Thank you. See here. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Dominic,
Oh, God. Leave it there.
what's going on?
All is well.
Look here, boy.
Let me hear what Bacchanal you're coming with this morning.
Hey, my sister went back, she's in Brooklyn.
Oh, morning, sis.
So, hey, Dominic,
Uh-huh.
I heard on the news this morning, Miss Regis is having problem getting enough signatures to support Stuart Young.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, you hear that?
No, I didn't.
And you're going to hear it later. I told you how Stuart Young said how there are people in the PNM who is trying to undermine he and Dr. Rowley. Dr. Rowley say how now is no time for fighting on the executive. You told me they got rid of that executive and they put in a new executive. That way Dr. Rowley wants to have his own way, to do what he wants, Dominic. And as the woman say, Ms. Primus, Stuart Young is not well liked in the PNM. He's not well liked in the PNM. When are you going to realize that?
It's not about leave it there. It's about competence.
Oh,
That's
God.
the problem. Well, it's because they liked Kamala Prasad sister in 2010 that they put her there and look how things turn out. It's not about it's about competence. And Stuart Young has demonstrated the competence. That's all your problem. But go with and see what all you will end up with. Go ahead.
It's because it is such a nonsense he and Dr. Rowley did.
What nonsense?
Dominic,
What nonsense?
this is a new year. Give me 2 Sundays and I'm going to show you all the nonsense Stuart Young and Dr. Rowley did. I hope, go by the doctor, check all your heart, eh? Make sure all your heart's strong, eh? Because I hope all you can take it. Being that said, Dominic, on the next note, what is the woman name who went in the parliament and talked about Dr. Rowley was a product of rapist? What's she name?
Vanilla Allen Toppin. Shopping
Right.
Toppin.
I had to write down that name.
Write it down.
Because Mr. Yates playing, you want to come after me on Pastor Google program. That is the next thing I had to show you. Vanilla Allen Toppin, Mr. Yates, you're coming after me. Dominic, we will talk again.
All right.
I will leave it there.
Leave it there. See this dotishness about like. Go ahead with it. So let me get this here. Let's see something here. Get this here. Folks, 1 second. Let me just see this thing here. Hello, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
What I told him yesterday is how would he feel if somebody stood up by the corner of the street where he lives and said to him and telling the whole world that his father raped his mother and he lived there was a product of rape, that he was born as a result of that heinous act. And then look at, or if somebody stood up in the parliament and said that he lived there was a product of rape and he came into this world, that is how he came to be. How would he feel? I'm not going after him. I am drawing a parallel that I mean about the nastiness that was sponsored by the UNC. So I personalize it. How would you feel if you were viewed as a product of rape and somebody stood up in the road and said that about you and to you? That's all I said. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, right. Okay.
Oh yeah, well, I can go there.
Hello.
You know what I'm saying? What has happened is that the chef and I both said that PNM is an institution, or they're now trying to put the dissenting few as sourness on the PNM, or they're trying to confuse people's mind. PNM people, MPs, parliamentarians, or you think and think again. Because Georgia was never in a, what you call it, 1%, which I don't agree with, area. I don't like that term, because we, okay, foreparents, all of our foreparents came here to make up this beautiful rainbow country that we have. And he was in an area that only consisted of people of African descent. No highfalutin didn't live here, and he used to command a lot and thousands of votes. One of the persons that get the highest votes who used to vote for Stuart Young all the time. So they didn't have a problem with him. None of us had a problem with Stuart Young. So I don't know what is the problem now, why his own members of parliament would choose to make that kind of a choose. You know, I am very, very, very sad. And Mr. Yates, you could have not said it any better. I know Stuart Young personally in my working days. Personally, don't pass me anywhere, hug and kiss. So let me tell you, he's a humble, hard-working, very, very studious person. So whatever he put his head to, I know he will succeed. So please, PNM, all you know what all you're doing in the hierarchy. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Dominic. And Mr. Yates, hallelujah, amen again. I go.
Thank you, Zina. And I wanna endorse what Zina just said there, right? Because I'm seeing an article here in the Guardian that says PNM MPs refuse to sign PM endorsement letter, Stuart in limbo. Right? So, and then they given a house of that thing here that people thought that the Prime Minister was going to step away and that Stuart Young would have just been there. And that is what it is. It's an interim thing. And eventually the party will go to convention and you will select a new leader, whether Mr. Young, you know, I would have tell Stuart, you know what, since all he wants to go down that road, no problem. So what your term, Stuart, you are competent, right? You could have other things that you could do. If they want to go down this dotish road and lose the election, go right ahead. And another 5 years. But I could tell you, if you have plenty of us who here now, anyway, a word to the wise is sufficient. Continue with that nonsense. Jenny.
Hi, morning, Dominic.
Morning.
Want to also calling and also looked on to fasten something. Dominic, I have never been a person who is willing to compromise my integrity and my values for power, position, or money. And I will never do that. However, I am not naive not to think that there are persons that are willing to do that. And this one, all I will say, ask yourself why there are people who does not want Minister Stuart Young to lead the PNM into elections on the 25 as the Prime Minister-elect. Because Dr. Rowley didn't do anything illegal with the process that was used when they went on the retreat, because that is spelled out in the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. And all those who are opposing the lawyers and this one and that one, none of them have said he did anything illegal. They speak about premature and the wrong time and all that, but they never said anything illegal. So every process that was used in the retreat, when I was in Tobago, was the retreat, America, whether or not they would just have a meeting in the Prime Minister office or wherever, there was a place and a process was dealt with. And the process was dealt with based on the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago. We would have heard there was a voting process, and out of 21, we would have seen names who vote for and vote against. By the end of it, we would have heard Minister Stuart would have garnered most of the vote. And based on the legal process in the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, the rest is history. So then what is the issue with Minister Stuart Young leading the People's National Movement into the election as the Prime Minister-elect based on the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago that themselves take part in? They didn't walk out when Dr. Rowley said, this is how it's going to be. They put up their hand or they didn't put up their hand or they took part in it. So what is the issue? When you're telling me about the political leader of the People's National Movement, where the PNM Constitution will come into play, I will understand. But that is not what they're talking about. Because the election, internal election for the position of political leader, chairman, general secretary, and I think assistant general secretary, if I'm not mistaken, is next year. So what is the problem? The problem is Minister Stuart. Ask yourself, why some of them in the PNM don't want Minister Stuart Young to lead this party into government and into election 2025? Because all of them want to fight him down. I said it this morning. What investment they bring in this country? Because this country needs money to run all the ministries and then. What investment they bring in? Because the oil has depleted. So gas is the way we're going and we find the field. All the contracts and them was there to be signed. None of them in the PNM, no one before on UNC and NAR ever signed them. We always say about the dragon and manatee, those were myths in our minds. Who bring it forward now that the contracts are signed? It's not the same Minister Stuart and Dr. T. Christopher Rowley. What is their track record? I want to talk about Johnny come lately. What is their track record? I want to lead this country. We are talking just lead the PNM. What is the track record of the crossover appeal? Could them do it? They know they could only run marathon, but they want to get into 100-meter sprint. And they know they're not ready. All they want to talk about is Black Man Party. The blackest man was the Prime Minister in this country, and the leader of the PNM, and all they cost them. All they say is too black and ugly. Some of they ask, so they want to come and use an opposition to work with them, all they say no. So what the hell is all the problem now? So when all they're talking is just all they prefer to see the PNM mash up than to see the PNM in office. Because all they want the legacy of Dr. Rowley to be, then he led us into success. With all these guys, they don't want the legacy to be that Minister Stuart lead the PNM into success. And all the oil money, all the gas money coming in, all they can spend. All they want that. All they know that personal vendetta and wicked and nastiness. To mash up everything. Because that's a black man. And when the black man was dead, all they was fighting him down. All they wicked. So let's stand for all that generation to come. This morning I'm preaching, you know why government? It's overbearing now with some of them PNM people. All they're talking about love and togetherness, but all they have hate. find what others to mash up the PNM than to stand and let us go forward and win this election because all the people like a root, all they're not ready. And all the only fooling the soft-head and them. All who have a personal ambition, all they get a vehicle now to jump on, to mash up everything, and talk about all they go come back again. Come back again with one PNM, it's not an African party. They had a black caucus for African people, and where go, it mash up. You know why? Because the players and them involved on the spell. So they're coming as a black party, and no African party, they are not living in Africa. And this country that cosmopolitan war. Every queen and child institution, Dr. William, when we found them, there was a PNM state, I have no mother India, China, Syria, mother Europe, mother Lebanon. It's only a mother Trinidad and Tobago. And mother don't discriminate against none of the children. And the minister still don't want to be children because he's half Indian, half Chinese. All they don't want the black man, all they want the African man. So all they want the Indian, all they want the Chinese. What all they want? What all they want? All they too wicked. It's a people dependent on all of this, not only alone. It's a whole society and children and young people dependent on the people's national movement. Because they still want to, all the people that mash it up and all they get one blast. They all they too wicked. All they too wicked and bad. All they just only think about all themselves and what all they can gain and get. What about the rest of me out here? To dependent on all you to make sure PNM and all this. All they don't care about we. All they just care about winning all your constituency seats. Where's the sense of winning your seat? And then winning nothing government in opposition. Could you do anything for the constituents? Could you all sit down in 5 years in opposition and the UNC take control of this country again? Look what you do between 2010 and 15. All the ones that come back so they can fight them, all they're so wicked. I call them all have some conscience, have some heart, have some reason. It's not only about power and money and position. It's a people out here, the same poor people that be talking about. All they want to put it back in that and say it again, all they're so wicked. I don't care who this morning I was on Dominic Show and crying and bawling. Yes, I will do it and do it again because I know what is at stake. If all they don't know, I know what is at stake. And you see me, Dominic, I can't stand up and damn iniquity and nastiness. What Minister Stuart Young do them? I'm going to put it down and work hard. If all you want to work hard, so and only have the ability by your jealous and the man. What are you jealous him for? Or you should be working with a man happy because he can take all the back into office, so they can have all the big positions, or they can have all the power, or they can have all the money. In opposition, what do they have? To say have a seat. And all they want to support Minister Young because what? He's China Indian, or because he's the favorite of Dr. T. Christopher Rowley. He was doing the work. He has done the work. Again, all that's so wicked. All they go ahead. Who don't hear the spiel? Who don't hear the spiel? And when all they feel it, don't look for no dumb neck. Don't look for no Sean Felix and Bruce and Google. Don't look for Ray. Don't look for no Sister Jenny. Don't look for we and all of these fights on social media, making sure these messages out there. Don't look for we or let's sit down in opposition with all their power and all their money and make all their deals and have all the African party by all themselves. All they come in to mash up something like 56 years old. Some only even wasn't born yet. 1956, some fights in opposition in the PNM wasn't even born yet. All they don't know what they went through. But all they want to come now, to mash it up for the personal and then guys, man, for the personal power and all of this life for this one and that one. All you go ahead. I know I voted for at the end of the day. My member of parliament is Stuart Young, and I voted for the People's National Movement. All you go ahead. This will be on all year. The chairs of people will fall on all year when all they do the wrong thing and they fail and lose the election. The chairs go fall on all year, all they will suffer. All they will suffer. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, morning. Hi.
Good morning.
Morning.
I don't understand this feeling, people. Trying to understand this feeling, people. Something wrong with us. You understand?
Mhm.
They want for the house. Where smart was coming in this? They do this seat. Some of these people do this full dominate.
Agreed.
Somewhere, George don't know his work. It was he's not a Johnny come late. He's there a long time. They're too biased. That's the whole thing about our not black people, our not the head people. Right? Dr. Rowley is a black man, and look how they fight him now.
Yeah.
They get him over Dr. Rowley, and he's a black man. What Dr. Eric Williams was, he was. So I don't understand with the story. They took this, well, too much of snake in him, and the one thing, there's a constitution supposed to work with, and I don't know what is the problem. What is the problem? I don't understand this. What, like this? And he knows his work, and he's doing his work. All of them want this one and this one. How can he get you? It's because this other one, the three vote in this one, the two vote, and they join up, and that when he wins by himself. He got to do other things, and he wants just as why the Indians always have to get up. No matter what come around them, too. Look at it. A bunch of thieves, everybody back in them. Right? That money down now. Everybody going for it. Why it is our nothing people don't take from these people. Understand? Going with the people, they ain't giving up. They saw what in 19. So, but it's only we always fighting one another and stop some of these and people. Listen, think about it. And friends, we don't live our life now. The grandchildren and somebody come along there was there for 5 years. What do they do? Money. Keep all the money. Take money from all about to do mischief. Now, PNL had to come and rectify everything. Look, people, government. You and PNL people behave on yourself. For too much of snake anybody.
Thank you, caller.
Good morning, Thomas, my darling.
I am good.
I want to offer something this morning, which I did. Okay? My name is Sharon Rowley. I'm the wife of Keith Rowley. And for 45 years, he gave his all to this land. Because he's a son of the soil. And he has been slandered and abused, and I and the children have been too. He has been called the child of rape. And he has been called the son of rape. And he has been called rape. Do you know what my husband goes through night after night? The tears he feels. My ebony king. My ebony priest, he cries when no one sees. You have slandered me without knowing me. Without asking one question, you have slandered me. What have we done? For 45 years, I gave my husband, and for 45 years, he gave this nation himself, his blood and sweat and tears. But you slander, you destroy, you annihilate. What have we done? My grandchildren now bear the brunt of your shame. What has he done? Tell me. Now he's leaving with his head up says 1% not so. Why is still there, Kansler? Why is Lee still there? Tim Gopi Singh's son beat him with a cutlass in Dixon Woodbrook. Why Tim Gopi Singh there? And a Ram, 2-4 tragedy, he's still there. Zamba Swift had a gun. Why he's still there? What is your hate? Then remove Swift, remove Tim Gopi Singh, remove Ram, remove David Lee. Why do you hate PN Dolly so bad? What has Stuart Young done to you but be human? When you hate them, you hate yourself. You are insecure and inferior. Number one, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Right. So this story here says, days after Stuart Young was chosen as Prime Minister, Dr. Rowley's successor at parliamentary retreat in Tobago, he is now in limbo as several MPs who were in that caucus are said to now be refusing to endorse him on a document indicating he will have majority support in the House of Representatives when Rowley eventually steps aside. Cabinet sources have told Guardian Media that leader of government business Camille Robinson-Regis started canvassing MPs yesterday to get their signatures for the document, which will be forwarded to the president eventually. But sources said as Robinson-Regis began attempting to physically obtain the signatures of the MPs who participated in the recent vote, she met some hurdles. Guardian Media was reliably informed that at least 9 MPs have initially declined to register their signatures. This, as a fallout, has developed among MPs over the manner in which the voting process went down and why it was necessary so soon in the first place. Young participated. Obviously, it's necessary because if Dr. Ali says he plans to step down, we're looking at the end of February, early March, then you need to get these things in place now, right? But anyway, this has fallout developed among MPs, right? So Young participated, North St. Anne's West MP edged out Arima MP Penelope Beckles 11-9 for the position after a secret ballot at the Tobago plantations on Monday, according to Chapright. It is therefore critical that Young receives the majority backing from as many MPs when the time comes for him to be installed as the next Prime Minister. The lack of signatures on the endorsement letter could now throw a wrench in the leadership transition, which Rowley assured would be smooth. On the issue of why there is no contention after Young won the straw vote on Monday, sources said MPs were initially under the impression that Rowley was going to step away from both Prime Ministership and party leader position sooner rather than later. As such, they were under the impression that Young would have been an interim prime ministerial position pending a convention to select a political leader. Isn't that what Dr. Ali said? When the convention is held in September, well, he said September the 28th earlier, that the party would then select a leader. Stuart Young would just be serving in the capacity of prime minister, right? Because we need somebody to lead the party into the general election, but you would still have a convention. So what they're saying here is that they were under that, the impression that they were under is the correct thing. Stuart Young, Dr. Rowley said that he would remain as political leader until such time as the necessary, whatever process has to take place in order to select a new leader. So Stuart Young is not going to be the leader when Dr. Rowley steps down. He'll just be prime minister. But I continue. However, after the vote, the caucus realized that Dr. Rowley was not going to resign as political leader anytime soon and would stay on in that position until the convention, which is called for September. So what's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? You all have an issue with Dr. Rowley being the political leader now? Guardian Media attempted to reach out to Prime Minister Dr. Rowley and Robinson-Regis on the alleged concerns, but there were no responses up to press time. Meanwhile, former PNM General Secretary Ashton Ford said he expected calls for clarification about the process used to select Young and its transparency at Saturday's meeting. There will be discussions, clarifications, and of course, there will be emotions given the way comments are coming from people who are challenging the process. There will be people like that and they will speak loud, but that doesn't influence the party's decisions. The persons who sometimes make the loud noises are the people who sometimes have an agenda. See that? Let me read that again. The persons who sometimes make the loud noises are the people who sometimes have an agenda. During the telephone interview with Guardian Media, Ford also noted that it was not uncommon for temperatures to rise over critical matters during General Council. I hear a lot of people talking about morality and different things. It is all speculation, and there are elements in the media who are trying to promote these kinds of comments and trying to create division. But we have a history. And it seems that they're succeeding to some extent in that division, right? Freddy Ferreira, founding PNM member, also said he expects the party's constitution regarding the selection of a successor to prevail on Saturday. What triggered all of this is all these unanswered questions, and that is because they did not follow the party's constitution. It is there and documented, and there are precedents for this. All right, it goes on, but all I want to say is this. Let me just tell you all this, right? So I was talking to someone yesterday. I don't say who it is, right? But the person was telling me that, well, the attorney, so part of the team that went across to Venezuela during the negotiations and stuff, they have an attorney who speaks fluent Spanish. State attorney, well, not a state attorney, but she works for the government. I won't say much capacity. And I know the individual is my good friend, and she was saying, you know, she wasn't very fond of Stuart Young before. She wasn't a fan of his, but when she went to Venezuela with the team and she saw how Stuart Young was able to negotiate, because she's, as I said, she's fluent in Spanish, so she was doing the translation and stuff and things, right? And she saw the dedication and the commitment that Stuart Young had, and the way that he was able to maneuver and so on to be able to get the best deal for Trinidad and Tobago, that she came away so impressed with what she saw. She said going into late hours, and he up early, and he there, and he went there with a plan, and he executed that plan, and she was so impressed that today she's a fan of Stuart Young, and that she in fact supports Stuart Young to be the next prime minister. But this is somebody who, as I said, she was no fan before. But having worked with him on those gas deals and those negotiations, and seeing the skill with which he was able to negotiate, she was impressed. He got enough to be a chairman. Ole had election in 2022. Oh yes, Ole went and voted Stuart Young chairman, right? We giving Stuart that support. He got enough for him to sacrifice his family time, to be doing shuttle work, to run to Washington, to Caracas, to Port of Spain, to Washington, to Caracas at the expense of his sons. Yes, he has children, right? To do all of that shuttle work to benefit you, to do work that Kevin Ramnarine couldn't do and others before him couldn't do. But I want to see, if I was him, I see all this set up bacchanal now and who would think and what, and you're getting fight down from within the party, I would have served on my term and say, you know what, thanks, it was nice. It was nice. I'll call it a day, since all you don't want, man. Let me see who you all will get to go and do the negotiations. Let me see who you all will get. Who in the cabinet now could do what Stuart Young did? Who? Who will get? Yeah. So when you want to come and install people, and as Ashton Ford said, it's all about agendas, right? When you all want to go and install people because they're your friend and you like this person and who gerrymandering and who want to do and what, because it's been their ambition for donkey years to be political leader of the PNM and eventually become prime minister, because. Go ahead. And it's not about competencies and who has the ability. And it's because race, because we need to continue to maintain this thing that the PNM is a black man party, right? And it's a problem if it is that you have something. Imagine you have people like Surut Rambachan praising the PNM for this latest development, that they say finally the PNM has broken the mold, or this perception about this racial voting thing, and the UNC should follow suit, right? But the UNC has been managed to, in the last few days, to twist this thing in such a way that you have persons who in the PNM talking nonsense about, oh, they think the black man party and thing, and Stuart Young is not one of we, and all of that stupidness. But you didn't have no problem voting for him for chairman, which was one of the highest positions in the highest position in the party after political leader. Yeah, he's okay, but he must temper his ambition. He mustn't go any higher than that. As if he selected himself. He mustn't go no higher than that. So we could use your skills and so on to negotiate so that Trinidad could benefit from all the gas deals that other administrations couldn't. Yeah, we were right here for that. You could do that. You will serve that purpose, but you mustn't go any further than that. And yeah, we'll keep you there because you know you had the skill, and PNM to your heart, and you go serve. Yeah, just come, so you will serve. Yeah, you're good for that. You could act as prime minister, but you mustn't be the substantive. right? Stuarty, right? I would have, if it was me, but that's just me, eh? That's me. I don't think that's Stuarty, because at the end of the day, it's not about him. He has his constituency to see about. He has his constituents to see about. But all who don't know the man and who don't see these things that he does and the sacrifices that he make, but all because a black man party, and forget that too. But don't forget that. But all who take in chain up because of certain individuals' ambitions and who being used as proxy and a facade, but we don't know what behind, right? All who so concerned about the well-being of the party, and it is the licking we on social media. Where earlier, if you always are putting even an ounce of the level of determination that you're putting in to fight down Stuart, if you had put in an ounce of that to defend the party when the UNC saying all of these nasty things, when all the things that the propaganda and lies they're spreading on Facebook and so on, where you have nothing to say. You're quiet. You're quiet like a mouse. Yeah? Nothing. You ain't coming out to do no video. You ain't calling the media to say this is not true and that is not true. But to fight down Stuart Young and to fight down Dr. Rowley, all of a sudden, all you find all your voice. All of a sudden, all you leaking things to the media. Right? That making sense. But let me see if all you go ahead and fight people fight. And as Ashton Ford said, people's agenda. So go ahead with that. Last time, you'll end up with a 12-seater maxi. This time, you'll end up with a 5-seater taxi. Go ahead with that nonsense. You'll end up with a 5-seater taxi. This time, politics 2010 was bad. This nonsense about who leaking and fight down, this has never been the PNM way. Never been. So you tell me, let's take a vote, and then you're coming out and say, well, we were under the misconception and so on. Who talked to who, and who promised who, and all them kind of nonsense that we're hearing about now. And so, you know when competent, if it is that you all come out to say you're not signing and you're not supporting Stuart Young, and what you know when competent that makes the PNM look? You know when competent it makes the government look and the party look? You all willing to go down that road so that the PNM can be made a laughing stock? And the UNC could come and laugh at us? Really? Well, let me tell all you. In the same way, it have others who supporting those others who behind the scene, it have those who supporting Stuart Young. And when all you feel that if it is, yes, we want to follow constitution and the process and so on and go through process and gerrymander the process. I say it, gerrymander the process. I'll come like Darian. Go and gerrymander the process so whoever else wanted to get through. And when they come in place and figure that those of us who, not about who like, we're looking about competence, go down that road and see what will happen. I tell you, you will end up with a 5-seater taxi. And you see, I keep telling, do expect me to come here and give another 5 years of my life talking about, and what not to know? Not me, not I. Or they will sit down under Kamla Prasad Bisasa and Munilal for 5 years because your ambition, yeah, sit down, you will lead the opposition. You will lead the opposition bench. That's what you will do for 5 years. And when it is that they're doing their nonsense, let me see who are they going to put to come and talk and expose and tell the people. You definitely hear me, and I know Jenny and them are not in that either. Because we tell all you. The same way they told Watson Duke about Fali. I see yesterday he do a live talking about, oh, he put P1 in Dr. Rowley and wants Dr. Rowley to take his advice about installing people based on whatever, because he did that with PSA, and now the PSA president, Leroy Baptiste, betrayed him, and now he had to be fighting for his economic survival and all of that, and he installed Fali, and Fali betrayed him and all of that. So be wary with Stuart Young and all kind of nonsense. And he pushing that same black man talk. Go ahead. What they drink? What was he saying? You're drinking bush tea for other people fever? Go ahead. Go right ahead. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, morning.
Morning. Dominic.
Yes, ma'am.
That's Stuart Young must give up. So he's a PNM. It's only one people behind them are great as the PNM. Every house it must end. Okay. PNM people. You see the deceitful ones, takes on them, we know them. Will prevail. Every time
the bacchanal. Style. Okay?
Thank you, caller. And I will say, I agree with you, no. But you see, the level of freedom that Stuart Young getting, he don't deserve it, given the amount of work that the man has done. And I would say that when you check the 21 of them, as there was 22 before, Stuart Young is one of the most accomplished and most hardworking MPs, right? In terms of being a member of parliament and in terms of being a minister. And in every portfolio that Dr. Rowley has given him, he has embraced it and he ran with it. But it seems that energy was his forte and he has run with it. And this country, not the PNM, the country stands to benefit in a significant way, even if the dragon gas don't come through in 2027 because of Donald Trump or whatever. The fact is, Manatee, which is ours, will be coming on stream in 2027, and therefore gas production is going to increase. But it took Stuart Young to go and do the negotiations to be able to get that delinking of Lauren and Manatee, something that others were not able to accomplish. And when you all want to overlook that, to come and tell me because somebody is your friend or you want to take chain up and all of that, wait and see all of you anyway. Anyway. Is a game being played there? But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead. If I thought the 12-seater was bad, wait for the 5-seater taxi. Eric.
Hi, good morning, sir. Good
morning, sir.
One thing, right? Now, you see me, I just see it for what I call it for, right? All the years I have known PNM since 1956 till 2025, and next year will be 70 years PNM in existence, right? You see it have people, they will laugh with you, they will smile with you, they will eat and drink with you, but they continue up under the table, right? All this cheating attacks that is delivering against Minister Young. Here was the problem, Dominic and the callers and listeners of this program. They cannot get a jackass to ride. They cannot get somebody to manipulate. They cannot get somebody who they could pull over and do as they please and as they wish and as they like. You understand? And it goes to show that to reach this level, for all your personal gains, all your personal beef, all your personal vendetta, all your personal likes, it's about likes and feeling and popularity. And this is my problem with people within the PNM. They realize that the last 10 years that they were under Dr. Rowley as the Prime Minister, they couldn't do as they please and as they want. So Dr. Rowley decided now, he called that day and he anointed his successor, Minister Young, as Prime Minister, right? Everybody have an issue. You know why? Because they're seeing Stuart Young as an epiphany of Dr. Rowley, and they cannot handle another 5 years of him, just how Dr. Rowley would have had him under stiff regulations and order in the last 10. So they can't take another 5 years of that. So everybody now jump out themselves and sort of have a sort of scathing attacks on the man. If it wasn't for Minister Young, right, all these initiatives that we have already dragged with the gas deals, what would have happened? They're not seeing that everybody wants to have the personal and the likes and the favoritism. And that is my problem. It's not about likes and favoritism. It's about getting the bloody job done. You understand? It's about getting the job blasted done, right? As much as people know, I will always say, Penelope Beckles is a very likable person. I am not saying no. Penelope Beckles is an approachable person. I am not saying no. Penelope is a people's person. I will not say no. But at the end of the day, Penelope Beckles is not a force to be reckoned with dealing with these hyenas. Penelope Beckles, Yes, she will have the leadership qualities, but she don't have the vigor. She don't have the venom to deal with the UNC hyenas. And that is what the UNC wants. They want Penelope Beckles as the political leader of the PNM so they can walk over Penelope Beckles and the PNM. And you have people within the party who is siding with this bullshit and expecting that, hey, I don't want Stuart Young there because he's a tiny and I don't want it to run no party because only deem it as an African party, a black party. But at the end of the day, it's not a black man who would have run for this party for the last 15 years, who took the party from 2912 and 2010 to 2318 and 2015 and then 2219 and 2020. The last 15 years, Dominic, the people in this country had a lot of nasty, derogatory, and racial remarks leveling against Dr. Rowley. Not one of them came out in defense of Dr. Rowley, right? Since 2010, when he was suspended as a member of parliament, in the first time in this country history, a member of parliament, opposition leader, got suspended from parliament. So in parliament, the people from the Martin West had no representative for the last couple of months in 2015 when Kamala Busabi-Sessa would have suspended Dr. Rowley from the parliament, right? The same way, right? People want to talk about Stuart Young. Stuart Young ain't no JASCOM. Stuart Young was Dr. Rowley's attorney since he was in opposition, and people doesn't even know that. You understand? Stuart Young was Dr. Rowley's attorney when Dr. Rowley was in opposition and he was leveled against all sorts of attacks on Dr. Rowley. Stuart Young was there, right? And that is why today Dr. Rowley would have seen him as one of the most viable options to take this party forward. But then again, we expect that it have the likes and the nasty, underhanded controls in the party trying to make it look as if Stuart Young is not a viable option for the party. You know why? Because I repeatedly saying that right now it have people want to have their personal agenda within the party, and if they cannot get their personal agenda, they rather mash up the party and put the country into disarray. And then when the party lost election come next this year, all over the show the blame on Minister Young. And then by doing that, you will emerge leader. But I am saying today, anytime a particular member of parliament becomes the leader of this party, you see, me, I want to have nothing to do with that individual. And I'm saying it abundantly clear. I want to have nothing to do with that individual. Because at the end of the day, all is a bunch of nasty, hypocritical, undermined people. Right? All I rather see a country be punished for your personal and your personal agenda rather than seeing the other side where people could benefit as a nation, 1.5 million of us, whether it's African, Indian, Chinese, Syrian, what have you. But at the end of the day, all you see Minister Young as a stumbling block in all your face. Because all you want to get involved in corrupted activities just to be blasted UNC. So you're going to say, you see, the PNM like the UNC. You're going to say the PNM like the UNC. Right? And that is what is taking place. They want to bring the party in a particular way and manner. And that is why they have an issue with Minister Young. But I am saying it about the I am supporting, Eric, is supporting Minister Stuart Richard Young as the Prime Minister and as the leader of the party. Anybody else, take a back seat. Because what the hell it was when the party was the already most. Everybody now jumping out and they had to say the Lehons, the Shara, the this, the that. Everybody have a excuse now to jumping out themselves. When he asked all it was when the country needed already most when we get 29-12 licks in 2010. Huh? But all coming to chastise Minister Young. Look, don't forget that. Because at the end of the day, the amount of nastiness that playing up and within social media And this next one called New Source, who feel that she is so this and leak. But you the biggest leaker. Because where you getting these sources from? And as always say, it's not what you're doing, no, it's how you do it. It's how you do it. Right? And by you doing that, you are fueling more problems rather than dealing with the situation. When you're coming to put out this and put out that and put out the other. Right? And I just show you. Champagne said it. PNM is PNM's own worst enemy. And with that being said and done, I am supporting Stuart Young. Right? I am going to give him my full 100%. Who don't like that, could bite it. Right? I am supporting Stuart Young going forward. And it's people like he that we need in this present time to bridge that gap of the racial discrimination in this country. Right? Dominic, with that being said and done, I love to listening.
Thank you, sir.
A damn bit.
Hello, good morning. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Hi, Dominic. Good
Morning.
Well, I'm glad I get on to Marlon Gordon here.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
And you know, I normally don't call it.
Yeah.
This call will be recorded. Yeah, been recorded. Marlon Gordon here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have this situation where we are allowing UNC people to come in and interfere in PNM. I want PNM people to understand what Dr. Rowley has intended trying to do to show that the secure the path and secure the election by appointing Stuart as Prime Minister is to ensure that we bring everything together and fight the UN. And the people inside of the PNM who are doing the UNC work, I want them to go back to the UNC and leave the PNM alone. I want the party to use all the resources available to them, including the investigation committee and the disciplinary committee, to deal with them. Because you see this behavior, I have worked since 1976, and this has never happened. When you have your bacchanal, keep your bacchanal in going to Denver. Yep. Let us stop the nonsense. Night before, the CNCTP posted a story and put on Instagram and put my voice and say that I am supporting Jennifer and what you name? Forever. I did no such. And I am saying to the world today, I call this issue and ask them to change it. They have proven, they have gone underneath the seat and realized it was their people who made a mistake and they're supposed to have apologized. But you know they have to apologize. So it's all right. I'll give the lawyer to write now. But I am warning PNM people. If they are members of the cabinet as far as who leaking information, fire them from the blasted cabinet. Fire them, Dr. And let us get our party back on track and we deal it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So that was Marlon Gordon there. We heard it from her. All right. She's never seen this happen before since 1970s. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Dominic.
Morning, sir.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
And a happy birthday to me. Yesterday I celebrate my 90th birthday.
Serious.
I in tongue long. Me not but no laptop. The only laptop in my belly does hang over my thing. But historically I did. So the first election I couldn't vote because I wasn't 21 years. But I was captivated by Eric Williams and I was in dark crowd. So it was colonial time. The powerhouse in Trinidad and Tobago was Albert Combs, Roy Joseph, Lionel Pantsukaran, Norman Tang, A.P.T. James, Patrick Solomon. So you hear called Norman Tang. Eric Williams come out with his team. And he put a man named Ulrich Lee, to fight the great big dude Portuguese man Albert Gomes. They questioned Eric Williams, how you could put this little half Chinese to fight this man? Eric Williams replied, that small thing which should inflate that big balloon. And in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, that is how we come up with a Minister of National Security. The first Minister of National Security, when he removed Albert Gomes, was Ulrich Lee. It even documented in Kaiso because he gave the police the first increase. And Sparrow have it. Police used to collect a shilling here, collect a shilling there. Now all of that stuff, I am making joke. They say the pay gone up. Now the whole force in misery. No more hustling, you see. They planning to lock up Lee, to raising his salary. Anytime you see police lock up Lee, is for raising his salary. I can't see where they're going with the security on. It's people's national movement. So Chinese always had a part. In the history of Trinidad is the first minister of national security under Eric Williams. Where they going with this thing? With this? Born in Trinidad. With this? But I could tell you what I know going on. Because in the 50s was Jagan, Diagua, and Bonham. Diagua was a Roman factor, Portuguese. Jagan are East Indian, and Bonham are African. Jagan said he is communist. Well, the superpowers and them put a pressure on him and they take the worst of the two evil, Bonham and Putti. And when Jagan changed his ways and pull out from communists, they come out with a plan they call Apanjat, which is a Hindu dog whistle, which means Apanjat means vote for your race. Vote Jairam, and when you hear ha means yes. Vote Jairam, ha. Vote Bihari, ha. Apanjat na votam Kironi. Don't vote no African. And the Trinidad DLP brings that here. With the Mahasaba, getting the Mahasaba, and that is the problem. They can't, it is not to be ruled by an African. Don't let me think, and you notice I stay in my lane. I know who, but one thing I know, he is the man. I could be prejudiced because I make 36 years and 3 months in the energy business. You know, about 24 years on the scene. And I know the worst ever minister national insurance was this fat-faced one with the come with the crucible oil and we found oil. He was the minister oil leak, the minister oil leak. He was no way in Carolyn Sipata. So let me worry you.
And I wishing myself a happy birthday. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Right, to the person who some bandmen or something, so bandmen now or something on YouTube asking who I supported in 2010. I supported Patrick Manning, sir. Right? I supported Patrick Manning. And when the PNM lost, my first PNM convention I ever went to was in 2010 down at the Shagaramas Convention Center, which I think was the last convention that they had there, so that they could ratify Dr. Rowley to become the interim political leader. If you want to know, I have always said what would have caused me to well, I didn't join, but to be a part of the ILP was my efforts to do more to help the PNM, asking everybody just how I could join a party group. And nobody could tell me. They don't know anybody in W Mera who in a party group. They can't give me a number to call. Went to Balize House, talked to people, and nobody could give me a number. A simple thing like that. In 2010, I was the campaign manager for one of the PNM's candidates in the local election in I think for the Felicity area there. I've spoken about this before. After the PNM lost in 2010, this young lady and I, during her short campaign, we were the only two people couldn't get nobody to work with us on an evening. Even Mr. Archie, who was the chairman of the constituency executive at the time, couple evenings he worked with us. But we couldn't get anybody. She'll even work early. I'll even work early so that we could go and walk in the constituency. But all you don't know, keep quiet. Right? You want to know who I supported? It's because of things like that that turned me off when I saw how PNM people turned their back on the party in 2010 because of foolishness, because they take chain up from Kamla and then would call a hat and call a hat thief and call a hat thief and Manning built church in Guanapo for his spiritual advisor and all kind of stupid talk. Or they take chain up with that and went and vote for them, or who didn't vote. And we ended up with 5 years of nonsense, corruption and theft. You miss me with that. When you don't know, right? Clearly you are just come. Let me see this nonsense I see in here. And again, where is it? Bachelor is saying you all support Stuart Little because Rowley says you all should do so. You all need to think for yourself. Bachelor, don't come here with your nonsense this morning. Don't upset me this morning with that stupidness. It has nothing to do with that. I spoke before. It's about Stuart Young's competence. You could tell me anybody in the UNC who could do what Stuart Young did. He good enough to be chairman. He good enough to be running up and down Venezuela and stuff and making negotiations so that we could benefit from 2027. But all you want to come stupidness is because Dr. Rowley says so. Miss me with that nonsense. When you don't know, you are not PNM, you don't know what is happening behind the scenes. We know. We know. So miss me with that stupidness. Shucks. Listen up my pressure here this morning. Huh? Tell all I do block people, but I'll make an exception this morning. You don't know? Hush. Hello? Hello?
Again, thank you for taking my call. I know you must be about to close off, but I want to say thank you to Mrs. Marilyn Gordon for giving us that part of history of the PNM and talking to PNM people. Well, I'm telling you something this morning, Doctor. The people who didn't pay up their dues in my party group already calling me. For they say we staying with Stuart Young because he been with us for all those years, and it's the same our people, African people of African descent was voting for him. We know, you know my take on this, Dominic. I am so sorry that I see my MP's name in it. And you know, I'm trying to understand what brought on this and why they had to leak that list. Whoever it is, they mischievous. And as Mrs. Gordon said, you have to call people to book, or you call on a meeting and fire them. Fire them, they're no good. But I have the remedy for snakes in the valleys. I tell you, I will come out with the disinfectant for them. So let me tell you, it's going to be a purchase, and I'm glad. The only thing I'm sorry about is that Dr. Rowley didn't say what he said before he screened. Man, I would have sweep, I would have bring out the cocaine broom, and I would have sweep it clean. It's PNM, because this need a purging. And let me tell the rabble rouser, I calling it because I hear she on all radio station big it out she mouth. Let me tell you, main rabble rouser outside of the parliament, that you stay with the unionism. Don't bring that in PNM party. And with your sour grape self, you're trying to see how you could hand this party to the UNC, but let me tell you, we on the ground with young, because Dr. Rowley said he was bringing in young people for the purpose of succession. So I'm very perturbed that my people up in this area here will take bribe or take the bribe, but chain up to go and say they're throwing their hat in the ring. Why would other people, I think that if you had respect for Dr. Rowley, you wouldn't even try to oppose. Because all you know the man, and all you know who been working hard on the ground all the time. Oh God and peace, all you don't do that, the parliamentarians, all you come together and now I hear they're getting, Robinson Reggie's getting difficulty for people to sign. Well, here now, all you bring it to the ground, and they will see where body go. Bring it to the ground. Is that all you want? Bring it to the ground. Thank you, Dominic. That's all I have to say. PNM people, wake up.
Thank you, Zina. Right. Anyway. Last call for the morning, because I really had a... Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Dominic.
Morning, sir.
First time I call in your program, but always listening.
Welcome.
Hi, very good program.
Thank you.
This is what I have to say, sir. Analyze what I'm saying. PNM, our party, is a most powerful party. It is like a tree, or it is a tree, big tree planted on the ground, well rooted. And what is happening here, it is showing you that PNM is going to win the next election, which I know. Why I say so? Because this breeze that is being blown onto the tree and testing the strong leaves of this tree. It is like when a breeze blows on a tree and all the weak leaves from green to red to brown, they just start to fall. This is what is happening here in this party. And when these leaves fall off, there is where you see a new strength and breed, a new breed of tree. Facing your reality with your eyes with wonderful green leaves. So don't worry about what is going on. This is just life. You never will drive down the road and meet a smooth road. You'll meet bends, you'll meet roadblocks, you'll meet potholes, you'll meet all type of things on your journey. PNM journey is well fixed. So don't worry about anything. We win already. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Winston Bachelor, again, let me tell you something. We don't get our information from the newspaper. We know. All right. And as I said, we know things that you don't know because we in the PNM. We in the PNM and we know. So what you think you know, based on what you read in the newspaper, trust me, it have plenty more than that. All right. So you continue to rely on the newspaper and figure that is it. No, sir. That is what you know. I am telling you, we know more than you know. All right. Definitely the last call for the day. All right. And I want to say this, folks, the easiest way to fix all of this bacchanal is an easy, simple way. All of them who want convention and whatnot, no problem. All right? You want to make a contribution? Tell all you already. Go to the nearest party group. Go down to Balize House. Get your application form. All right? Fill it out and become a member. You pay your $5 or your $10 so you could become a member. And whenever the internal election is called, you could go and the way it will count the most, you see with your finger here, you could vote. And if Stuart Chung is the person that you're supporting and you want Stuart Chung, you vote for him. If Penny Beckles is the person that you're supporting, no problem. And if it have others who have ambition to be prime minister and have agendas or whatever, and they throw their hat in the ring and you want to support them, no problem. And all who yapping and running to the media and giving interviews and so on and challenging the prime minister and so on, all the time you had no problems, no issues with the wisdom of the prime minister. But all of a sudden, because he seemingly endorsing the person that you don't support, is an issue. But it wasn't an issue before. When you were on the slate with the same Stuart Chung, you had no problems. When all of these constituencies were calling Stuart Chung to come and talk be the feature speaker at the constituency conference, nobody had an issue with Stuart Chung then. There's a reason why they were calling him, not just because he was chairman of the party, but I am making the point. The easiest way to sort out all of this, if you're not a member, so voting doesn't make you a member. You need to go down to Balize House, go to the nearest, the constituency executive, or go to your MP's office if your MP is PNM, find a party group, get the form, fill it out in due time, right? So that you can become an official member, so that when the election is called and you go down to the polling station, your name on the list, and you could cast your ballot. Simple as that, right? Good. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello. Yes, Dominic.
Yes, sir.
It seems like I always catch you just before you're leaving. I'm
yes.
calling from through you.
Yes.
The thing about it, Dominic, is that Stuart Young is good for business.
Mm-hmm.
And by being prime minister and representing our country all around the world, it would widen the frame of reference that people have about Trinidad and Tobago. And they will realize that every creed and race, according to our national anthem, will have an equal place. It will do good for democracy in its pristine form, so that you have an East Indian, you have an Afro, and you have a Chinese person, all coming from sweet Trinidad and Tobago. And the fact is, what is more importantly, business people around the world, especially oil and gas, they know him. So they will help open doors that may not be accessible to other politicians in the region, because they want to benefit from his skill set. And it will rebound to the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago citizens. Now look at it from the local point of view. All the time, people saying, "Oh, they trust Dr. Rowley's judgment." Mm-hmm. They have the reggae, the Rastaman will sing the song, and everybody clap and whine and so forth, and they make a grand thing about his judgment and so forth, and praising him at the start of every convention and every meeting and so forth. Now we make a decision that was strategic and caught everybody off guard. So they didn't even have time to lobby and to do anything. Everybody started going helter-skelter. But what has happened, it has exposed the underbelly of people within the circle. Those who are knowledgeable and those who are pretending to be loyal, you see? So, and those who don't know anything, but just faking it as being a PNM. You see? So that what I would suggest, like yesterday, what has happened is Ashton Ford was being interviewed by Darian. A lot of these things have precedence in the book of Cody Ferreira, And Dr. Rowley's book, he quoted also from Dr. Rowley's book, the precedents taking place on situations. So all your listeners and they have to do is check out these books if they have it in their library and follow all the examples, all the things that happen in history and realize a lot of recital things are happening now. You see, so a lot of it is not new, but you cannot put new wine in old skins. The Bible tells you that and all. So it is unfair to pick a man that is very good. He's chairman. It's unfair to have a prime minister who you say his judgment is impeccable and you're giving him all the superlatives. And then now at the end of the day, you're making him look like a tyrant and a thing. This is unfair. So I just wanted to make that my thing because I know you have to go. And please block Winston Barcelona. He's a waste of time. He don't understand a thing. He's just there as a nuisance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Speaking of Barcelona, again, you're talking about why we don't go to the convention. Listen, I don't know. I call a last caller. I ain't taking any more after this. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Dominic.
Yes, sir.
Dominic, good morning.
Morning.
You are here. You see, I didn't expect you to be here so late, boy.
Yeah. I went a little extra today.
Don't get so hyper around Dominic. You know, everybody just speculating and talking, you know, their feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question. Dominic, since there's 11-9, right?
Mm-hmm.
Supporting Stuart Young, right? If you don't get the full support of the other 9, could there be a no confidence against the government if you don't get that Dr. Ori resign and Stuart become the prime and you don't get the support? Could it be a no confidence within the 9 if they don't support, Dominic?
No.
No. Okay. And if the 9 do not support, right, Dominic?
Mm-hmm.
The president, right, and you don't have the majority, she could elect or select who to lead the government.
No,
Dominic?
it's whoever has the support of the majority.
Whoever gets
Yes.
more the majority.
Yes.
I was just concerned about those questions because people naming some of the 9 and some of the 11, and you know they're upset.
Yes.
But Stuart Young, to me, Dominic, the independent voters and the business community is in an agreement with Stuart if he succeeds because he have a wealth of knowledge in dealing with the contracts and bringing certain investment into the country and keeping it stabilized. So the business and the independent voters are hoping that Stuart Young will be the next one in charge. And I hope the people realize that Stuart will stabilize and keep Trinidad and Tobago from being unstable, like how it was in 2010 and 2015. Which part, when you walk out Trinidad and Tobago, everybody wants to know what's happening in Trinidad, what's going on down there, right? So people think very hard of what decision you are going to make because policies going to affect some people. Hi to Altia, Danny, Kevin, Blessed One, everybody, 29, super. Happy New Year and all the best, all right? Okay.
Thank you, sir. All right, so that's the last call for today, folks, because it's so I did indicate that it was my intention to go to Randall's funeral, but it's too late now, so I guess I'll have to take it in online. But just to say, he says, I have a question. Why the PNM not taking the support for Young to the convention? Is it that if that goes to the convention, Young will not have a chance in hell to control the PNM party? It's not about control, right? Clearly, you don't understand how you run a successful political party. You do not want to have that type of infighting. You see the nastiness that taking place now in an election year, thing to get people vexed and forcing people to take sides in an election year. You don't do that. Because when it is that you have, because when in 2022, when it had the internal election and I ran for the position of social media officer, there wasn't that much animosity because the main slate had the main contenders, right? And the other slates were basically outliers, and then you had the few independents like myself. But clearly, in this instance, where we're going for the leadership of the party, when Dr. Rowley was contesting and nobody contested, nobody's going to go up against Dr. Rowley, right? Again, last time was in 2014. But now, where you have there's a vacancy for a leader, everybody who has the ambition is now going to present themselves, which means that you're going to have slates of persons. So it's no longer everybody on the same slate, so we singing from the same hymn book, right? In this instance, internal election, we go in for leader because whoever, when you look at the average age of the persons who have ambitions to be leader, they could serve for at least 10 years, 15 years. So persons who might say, nah, boy, young is 49, if he get through, that going to Scott because I older than him. Maybe I may not be older than him by that much, but still, he could be there for a good 15, 20 years, and that affects me, right? Eric, I want to take your call, but I had to go. If you could make it quick. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just before you go, Dominic, now people have to understand the reality, right? It is the prime ministership that is the fight about. You see, Dominic, they are tying up the leadership and the prime ministership in one. People, I was reliably informed there will be no convention in September. None. No convention in September. And that is the mantra now. We have to push. No convention in September. The leadership election is due in 2026. I say again, tell your friend, your family, everybody, no convention in September. Right? Because we know how that will turn out to be. It has certain people want to put up themselves and they rather burn down the party and to make it accuse people to chase them out of the party. So I say again, no convention in September. Right, Dominic? Not listening.
Thank you, sir. But all eyes would be on the PNM on Saturday, right? General Council, all who wanted General Council, and I'm guessing it would be a very heated General Council. I would give anything to be a fly on the wall in that meeting, right? But as I was telling Mr. Bachelor, right? Proper politics dictates you don't want to go into a general election with infighting. Okay? And in this instance, this is different. This is the first time that you are going to have a leadership challenge where it is that there is a vacancy, right? That there is a vacancy because the leader has stepped away from the prime minister's role and so on. So lines will be drawn, right? People will take sides. So it is going to be better. If now, just to have somebody not act, but serve as prime minister to serve all the rest of the term that Dr. Rowley should have served, not to lead, not to be the political leader, just to be the prime minister until such time as the party has its convention and internal election and you select a new leader. We have all of this bacchanal, all this infighting, all this couture. Imagine when we get to the point where we are going to an election, internal election, to pick a leader, the person who is going to lead until whenever they decide to step down, right? And Lord knows how long that is going to be. Okay? It is going to be bitter. It is going to be nasty. And more than likely, it will end up, however, whichever way it goes, there's going to be defections in terms of the members of the party, right? You hear people saying, this is not the PNM way. Never see this. I don't know what in 1986 or 81 when it is they selected Chambers, right? I don't know what was whatever had happened then, But as Ms. Gordon, who spoke to us earlier on, told us, she don't know about this, right? PNM don't air their dirty linen in public, and persons higher levels have allowed the UNC to draw them into this nastiness, this dotishness. I don't understand how you could take a vote last week and then now you're coming to tell me something different this week. Right? You're coming to tell me what you didn't know and you taught, and really? What does that say about competence levels? Come on, man. Or they keep giving the UNC fodder to mash all you up. No. You pledge your support for the man. So it is. Be persons of your word. Stick to it. Now you come and say, well, I want to sign, and because you're hearing the talk on the ground now, and whatever it is. Well, then go and talk to your constituents and ask them, since we saw about democracy, the decision is not yours to make alone. Talk to your constituents. I'm sure they will tell you which is that they support. But anyway, let me just take Jenny there and then I'm done. I'm done after this. After Jenny,